Mondays at 9.
With Doug Russell.
It does mean something.
Nick Bruzowitz.
Beat him up in private.
And Dave Gasper.
Let's stay up all night long.
From Monroe Street to Lombardi Avenue.
There is your dagger.
This is your daily deep dive into the teams we love and the games we watch.
Touchdown, Wisconsin. And there it is. The Brewers will punch a ticket to the postseason.
Now here's Nick Bruzowitz.
Welcome in, Monday edition of D.N.D. here on The Game. Doug Russell with a regularly scheduled day off. So it's Dave Gasper and me holding it down for the next 4 hours as we break down what was an extended weekend for a lot of folks. Some maybe weren't tuned into the radio on Friday when we had half a day of live coverage. So we'll rehash a lot of Packers talk. We now know the full picture in the division after having seen what the Bears did Friday afternoon, what the Vikings didn't do yesterday. And in addition to that, what the rest of the NFL did. Broncos find themselves to a victory, as we heard there in the open. Some of these teams, even if they're 10-2, 9-3, feel like they're on shaky ground. And I'd rather pick some of these middle-of-the-pack teams like the Chiefs to still beat them. But you got to get to the playoffs to do that, and credit to the Broncos. But the Badgers, I think, were the only negative on what was a great weekend, I think, for a lot of folks. When you look back at this weekend, you spent a lot of time with your family, which is probably a love-hate relationship with the amount of time that a lot of us spent with them. I was fortunate enough to be home for a series of days. Dave's not terribly far away from the station at which he lives. So he had an opportunity to come in and out, spend a lot of time with your family as well. So I guess we'll start there. First and foremost, you have a great weekend, Dave?
I did. You know, it was a very nice weekend, be able to just kind of relax at home for the most part, although it was here the past couple of days with, Badger work to do. And of course, Badger basketball, having the Rady Children's Invitational over the holidays as well. But, I was able to get some Black Friday shopping in, which was great, which is where I'm sure a lot of people were as well, going out, getting their deals. Hopefully no one got trampled. No one was fighting everyone at Walmart or Target or wherever it was that you were going, because Black Friday, it used to be so intense and crazy and just everyone driving all over the place, everyone fighting each other for deals. And it's like, now it's just Black Fridays like all the time. Like everyone's got a deal everywhere. It's all just online. Like today is technically Cyber Monday, but like Cyber Monday's been going on for like a week already. It's insane. But yeah, no, the weekend was great. It was great to have the fam over and have myself 3 plates of Thanksgiving dinner. I know it was there was turkey on it, and Doug hates that, but hey, still it was good.
It's a turkey friendly program today.
It's a turkey positive program today. Doug is going to change that up tomorrow when he gets back in, but still. I had a great time, and Nick, I'm sure you had a great time back at home and ripping with the fam, seeing everyone, and we got to meet Fitz on the show on Friday. So if you missed the show on Friday, you missed a stream on Facebook, X, or YouTube, where we're streaming every single day. If you missed that, you missed seeing Fitz, the Golden Doodle, at Nick's house, because Fitz was definitely the star of the show on Friday.
Yeah. No doubt. He's like the chillest dude ever. We always wonder, as
a golden doodle, which is incredible.
Yeah. And the cost, my brother Alex bought him in the midst of COVID, and he was able to convince him to give him a deal. But, Fitzy was still a few $1,000s. So, Fitzy was quite the purchase, but he's paid off greatly. He was originally my brother Alex's dog. Alex's lifestyle got a little too hectic and crazy, so he became my brother Kyle's dog. So stayed in the fam. Fitz was great. Popped him on the stream. But yeah, that was the longest I'd been home. I think since I was in school. So it's not a long time ago. But like when you would have winter break, and you were there for 3 weeks. I don't think I had spent 4 nights at home in Ripon. Certainly since I graduated college. So it was a unique opportunity to spend some time with family. I hope everyone out there made the most of their chances. And if you didn't spend time with family and you enjoyed your breaks, I think most folks were off on Friday, off on Thursday and Friday. So you got a long weekend to chillax, watch some football, hang out. But to circle back, I think to the most substantial negative, and there weren't many from the weekend, it was the Badgers football team on the road at Minnesota. You lose 17-7. It's one thing. You lose 17-7 in a game that was absolutely gettable. is another thing. And the weather played as a great equalizer, in my opinion. It's not like only the Badgers were hampered by snow and wet conditions, but Wisconsin made just enough mistakes to lose it. I think that, Hunter Simmons comes in late in the first half. He rips that 68-yard pass, I believe, after the catch and run to Vinny Anthony. They get down into the red zone. Carter Smith eventually finishes it off. Jackson Aker with the remarkable catch in the end zone. That's the only time you score. That's the only time you score all day. And you didn't spend a lot of time in the opponent's territory. I did put out a tweet, and it's not a knock on Hunter Simmons, because I was calling for him once he made that pass to be in the game, because it felt like, hey, you're going to have a higher upside, the ability to push the ball down the field. But I said pros and cons to Hunter Simmons being in for Carter Smith. Pros, Simmons can throw the ball down the field. Cons, Simmons can throw the ball down the field to the opponent. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that was the big problem for Simmons. So 2 interceptions, they were really bad throws. Kind of poor decisions there. Yeah, with Carter Smith, you really had no chance to throw the ball down the field, and those opportunities really weren't there. But also with that weather and what the game was, how everyone was slip sliding around, throwing the ball was hard enough as it was. So your best chance might have been running the ball and just, being able to bounce off tacklers, because the tacklers are going to be trying to, they're going to be slipping around and not being able to grab on anyone. So yeah, it was, I understood the decision to go with Simmons there, but I did kind of wanted to see a little bit more of Carter Smith. They bring him in there at the end of the first half. It's like, okay, you need to pass, you need to throw it downfield, and you get something there. But then they stuck with him in the second half, even with the interceptions. I didn't necessarily like how that was going. Minnesota got just enough explosive plays, because Wisconsin also struggled tackling because it was snowing. Everyone was slipping around. No one could get any sort of grip on the field. A tough way to end the season, because, Nick, there was so much momentum building for this game, thinking, after you get the win against Illinois, it's like, okay, they've got it figured out now. They figured out their system. They figured out their path to success, that they can now get it. If they get a win here, it is just going to build on that momentum even further and the excitement heading into next year. And now I'm wondering, okay, where is that excitement level at? Because when you finish with a little bit of a dud there against your biggest rival, it does take a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth.
Absolutely. And I think that you really do, as a fan, and speaking from my experience, overlook the value of being at home. Minnesota was undefeated at home this year. I mean, They went 7-0 at home, 0-5 on the road. Badgers winless on the road this season. They only had 4 wins, first 2 games against essentially the bye games, and then the 2 field storming ranked wins in November. Like, you didn't see the same team on the road as you did at home, and that was reality as well. So you look at Wisconsin in that performance on Saturday, and you see that they had 50 more yards than the Gophers did. They were able to pass for 92 more yards than the Gophers did. And rushing from a yards per rush perspective, 4 for Minnesota, 3.1 for Wisconsin. I mean, in no way did Minnesota have an upper hand substantial enough to suggest that they should have definitely won. The issue was Wisconsin got behind early in the field position battle. They were backed up in their own territory over and over again. Couldn't move the ball down the field at all with Carter Smith. So you bring in Simmons, he makes the dime. He had some for the 2 interceptions. One of them was tipped, so it's about I'd give him a C. The other one, the near pick 6, is an F. I mean, just a terrible throw.
Horrendous.
A poor decision, terrible throw. He also had a ton of great throws. And that was where I was excited, and I was more potentially interested in having him in the game than Smith. I also wonder, they couldn't practice in those conditions. There wasn't snow here yet. I mean, you couldn't prepare for those conditions. Has Carter Smith ever played in those conditions? I mean, he's a Fort Myers kid. He's from Florida. I'm not sure he's ever been in that particular set of rain, snow. I get it. That was against Washington, but this was snow. I mean, this was deep, slippery, cold. I just don't know if he was prepared well enough for the weather in that regard. I asked Braden Locke the same question last year when they played Minnesota. He's a Texas kid. I said, is this going to be the coldest game you've ever played? And he says, what do you think? with a Southern accent. I was like, oh, come on, man, in front of everybody. Blew my spot up. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know where you've played in your life. He said, yes, it's going to be the coldest game. And then they whooped us. Wisconsin needs to embrace the cold. They need to be able to play in the cold. I don't think that's the reason why they lost, but it's a contributing factor maybe to why Carter Smith didn't play the whole game.
Yeah, him being from Fort Myers certainly didn't help because he was not experienced enough with that. As Zach Bowman comments here on Twitter, it really looked like Simmons put some serious zip on the ball, and I think that's another one of the reasons why they brought in Simmons, because he is that senior. He does have the experience in that kind of weather. He should be able to throw the ball a little bit better there. Yes, he did have some zip on some interceptions as well, but clearly Fickell felt that he gave the team a better chance to win that game because Fickell wants the momentum heading into the offseason just as much as the rest of us. But yeah, I think this is a great learning experience for Carter Smith because, they put him out there in that weather and it wasn't going particularly well, even with being able to run the ball. But that's something where you can learn. You can learn by doing. You can learn by watching. And it appears Fickell made the decision to have him learn by watching Hunter Simmons go through it. And it was difficult conditions for anyone, no matter who you have there at quarterback. And you got to be able to run the ball in those conditions as well. And they weren't able to run the ball as explosively as we saw them do against Illinois, against Washington. Minnesota, they've got a decent team over there. So it does make it very difficult for them. But you can't practice in those conditions. You can't prepare for them specifically. And you just get more learning experiences, more to build off of heading into next year. But the season's now wrapped for them.
Right.
And I just hope that the momentum that they built with their ranked wins can continue to carry over and that this Minnesota loss doesn't negate too much of it because they were in it. I mean, they weren't getting boat race like they were earlier in the season when they faced Iowa or when they faced, even Maryland. Maryland, like Wisconsin was the only conference win for Maryland this year. I mean, that was as horrendous a loss as we've seen, for this team. Maryland did nothing. And for them to at least be able to have some momentum and at least be competitive in this Minnesota game, even though they didn't win, I think at least being competitive, the momentum doesn't completely fall aside. Like we saw last year when everything just kind of fell to crap at the end of the season. The momentum, I think, is still at least going to be there. Not as much as if it were a win, because if it were a win, that momentum's building. It's continuing to soar and move upwards as we head into the offseason. But at the very least, I don't think momentum went down with the loss just because they were at least able to play competitive in those conditions.
Yeah, there's something to be said about, being in the game. And in the final moments, some egregious missed calls by the officials. Hunter Simmons gets body slammed 5 seconds after the play is blown dead by two guys. And the Badgers' final possession of the game. It should have been roughing the passer. It should have been unsportsmanlike conduct. It should have been a foul on the opponent. It should have been a penalty. And then Tretch gets blown up, helmet to skull.
Yeah,
and that should have been a targeting.
Should have.
And I get it. It's a little bit of maybe too little, too late. Still, the time was against them. But call it because that is a foul. That is a penalty. That is targeting. If not targeting, it's still unnecessary roughness, and it should have been called, and it wasn't. So the Badgers did kind of get screwed over in that regard late in the game after they're driving the ball down the field. But Minnesota's recipe to success isn't particularly advanced in this win. I mean, they bust 149-yard run. They had 128 total yards on the ground, one of which was a 49-yard rushing touchdown by Darius Taylor, which is incredibly foreign to this defense this year at Madison. They have not allowed plays like that. They exist. Justice Haynes had a big one with Michigan. Guys have burst for big plays, but it has been far and few between. And then Drake Lindsay had 18 completions for 90 yards. I mean, his average completion is 3.8 yards. And they score the touchdown into the back of the end zone to their tight end, Jamison Gears, after a massive interception return after Simmons zipped it right into, an impeding linebacker or safety or corner. I'm trying to remember.
Either way, wearing the wrong jersey.
Yeah, I mean Nestor, I believe, was the name on it. I'm just trying to confirm he was a defensive back.
It's giving flashbacks to Nestor Cortez too. It's like everyone's like Nestor. I'm like Nestor. What are we doing here? I thought we traded him, but
he played well.
He did.
They made the required plays. They did exactly what Wisconsin did against Washington a month ago, just about a month ago now. They didn't kill themselves. They made the significant plays when needed. But you could circle 3 plays in this game, 4 plays in this game if you want, and say that's how Minnesota won and that's how Wisconsin lost. You don't take a moral victory from it, and certainly I'm frustrated. The momentum is definitely taking a hit, but it's still positive, as you've highlighted. I just don't know how you leave that game and say that's Luke Fickell's fault.
Yeah.
This is an offensive system that is okay. Maybe he makes the hiring, but as our listener just highlighted here on the stream, Simmons got some zip on that ball. That's what the offense is supposed to look like with Billy Edwards. Billy is supposed to be the quarterback. He was always supposed to be the quarterback. That ability to pass the ball, push it down the field, certainly aided by the slippery conditions and wide receivers probably being more nimble on their feet than the cornerbacks or safeties are. But that's what the offense is supposed to look at. You're supposed to be able to push the ball down the field in this system, and Billy Edwards was supposed to be that guy. And so all this to say, as we prepared for this show, I said, we should pose a question on how people grade this season. And we want to hear from you guys on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line, 877-794-1973. What grade would you give Wisconsin in a 4-8 season? Their worst in a very, very long time in terms of record. Are you willing to maybe see my vision on requiring a curve? You had your 4th string quarterback start multiple games. They had 4 quarterbacks start multiple games this year. Billy started twice, Ohio and Maryland. Danny started a couple of times, Washington, Middle Tennessee State, Alabama, and Maryland. Was essentially a start after you saw Billy exit. Hunter Simmons started 4 in a row all of October, and then Carter Smith got some starts down the stretch. You had 4 quarterbacks start multiple games, not to mention running back injuries, not to mention injuries in the secondary. Your center was in and out all year. Jake Renfro couldn't rely on your backup center. So you were on reserves across the board. Do you give them any benefit of the doubt? The Wisconsin Badgers, do they deserve any benefit of the doubt when they're 4-8? When you look at their roster and the schedule that they had, I'm willing to admit that they should have been better. Absolutely. But you got to look at them and say, with a healthy roster, could they have been better? And my argument would be yes.
Yeah, I think they could have been better as well. And we're going to talk with Billy Edwards coming up later on in the show here and during the 1 o'clock hour, as we do every Monday throughout the season here. So excited to get his thoughts on this game and this team this season. But yeah, I think for me, this season, we were fully prepared for 2-10 a little bit there with how October went. We were kind of looking like, okay, Washington, can they win that? Indiana, no. Illinois, probably not. Maybe Minnesota, but oh, man. It was a tough slog, and there were some really, really low expectations. So I think in order to get to 4-8 and get a couple of those ranked wins towards the end, I certainly can't give them an F for that. And especially, yes, with all things considered, losing your quarterback during the first game of the year, going through 4 different ones. I think I'd give them a C on the season just to kind of stay afloat. And you see some positive things here. To get the development, because looking on the positive side here, you got the development of Cooper Catalano and Mason Posa as linebackers, what they've turned into, how fantastic they've been. And you're seeing a couple of these other guys, Gideon Atuka before he got hurt, Darian Dupree as a running back, Lance Mason at tight end. You're seeing the development of some of these really good young players. Eugene Hilton, we were seeing some big flashes from. So I think there are some positives from the young guys, the Fickell recruiting classes that he's brought in as freshmen that are now getting their chances. You see some flashes from Carter Smith that give you hope at quarterback with how this team can figure things out. So that's where I'm going with a C. We can get more into the grades as well here, but Yeah,
Sure.
I think this season, for Wisconsin, it didn't end the way that you wanted it to, but you at least were able to get some of those positive things to say, okay, this thing isn't a total failure. There is some stuff to build on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it was a D, and I do appreciate the optimism on the C. I think that everyone, if we asked in a poll question or here on the talking text line, 877-794-1973, if I gave you the option of it's an F or it's any other grade, I think most would still roll with F. I think that they see the worst product in terms of wins, losses in 3 decades, and they say, no, that sucked. That was a terrible season. But we'll hear from Luke Fickell on the other side, his final post-game presser after Saturday's 17-7 loss to Minnesota. You'll be able to hear maybe some parting thoughts from the third-year head coach as he gets prepared for his third offseason, officially as the head coach, I guess 4th offseason as the head coach. And we'll hear that on the other side. Also, as we highlighted later on in the program, Billy Edwards Jr. will join us. We'll talk with Nick Osen. We'll have more conversation about the Packers and their victory and what it means for that division, and highlight maybe some of the storylines. Lane Kiffin, what a weird one that is. So stay tuned. You got D.N.D. here on The Game.
Want to watch D.N.D? They're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X right now.
There you go.
There we go.
Just search 97.3 The Game.
I'm Chris Rose with NFL Network Now and the Westwood One Radio Network. We start in the AFC West, where Justin Herbert suffered a break in his non-throwing hand in the first quarter against the Raiders, eventually returned to the game, leading LA to a 31-14 win over Las Vegas. After the game, head coach Jim Harbaugh told reporters Herbert will require surgery to repair the injury. He still could be a go a week from Monday against the Eagles. Staying in the AFC, James Cook racked up 177 yards from scrimmage, helping the Bills make easy work of the Steelers 26-7. In Carolina, Bryce Young threw for 206 and 3 scores. Panthers improved to 7-6 after they shocked the Rams 31-28. The Texans are owners of 4 straight wins after they took it to Indy, outlasting the Colts 20-16. The Seahawks improved to 9-3 on the season after they blanked the Vikings 26-0 in Seattle. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1978.
In June of 78, Darkness on the Edge of Town is released. Bruce Springsteen's follow-up to his breakthrough album, Born to Run. The album charts at number 5.
In the darkness on the edge of town.
Boston-based band The Cars released their debut album. It goes to number 18. It features the singles Just What I Needed and My Best Friend's Girl.
She's my best friend's girl. But she used to be mine.
In July of 78, the Rolling Stones released Some Girls in the U.S. The album and the single Miss You both hit number 1. In August of 78, Boston released their sophomore album, Don't Look Back. The album goes to number 1 in the U.S., selling 4 million copies in its first month.
listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1978. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1967.
Van Morrison, formerly of the band Them, has a number 10 hit as a solo artist with Brown Eyed Girl. In July, LA band The Grassroots scored their first top 10 hit with Let's Live for Today. And UK supergroup Cream, featuring guitarist Eric Clapton, toured the US for the first time.
In the sunshine of your love.
And in September, Janis Joplin's band Big Brother and the Holding Company signed with Columbia Records and released their debut album. October of '67, Memphis band The Box Tops, including 17-year-old gravel voice singer Alex Chilton, have a number 1 hit with The Letter.
Yeah, a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a going home. My baby used to put me a letter. My baby used to put me a letter.
And in November, the first issue of Rolling Stone magazine is published in San Francisco, featuring an interview with John Lennon. The Who have their first and only U.S. top 10 hit with I Can See for Miles. In December, they smashed their instruments on the Smothers Brothers TV show.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1967. Coming up.
We call it Wagertainment.
All right, place your bets, place your bets.
VSiN, every night at 6. Presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet above the rest on Fox Sports 920.
Back here on the game, you've got D.N.D, Dave Gasper, and me, Nick Bruswitz, holding it down here on a Monday after an extended weekend. We got spoiled a little bit on Friday, Dave. We got to do a half show. Not quite as spoiled as Drew and KB, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, sometimes we got to be here. We got to talk Packers, because the Packers were able to get themselves a nice win on Thanksgiving. Jordan Love gets himself a turkey leg. The entire team gets themselves some turkey legs. So it was great. We get to be here for a little bit and
that's right.
Have some fun.
Yeah, we certainly like to have some fun here on the program. From time to time, we've been known to maybe get sidetracked, but we're staying on track now. We teased Luke Fickle, and I'm going to get him prepared, ready to go in just a moment. But I do want to hear from our listeners on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line, 877-794-1973. Their opinions on the Badgers. What would you give them for a grade this year on their report card? We got a couple of messages in, maybe one more positive than the other, but we'll just weigh in. We'll see what they say. Mike from Merrill, what an emotional season. So many injuries, which ultimately put us behind the 8 ball and changed the whole fluidity of the team by halftime of the first game. The schedule was a bear, and we definitely faltered. The lack of positivity on offense was the number one problem. Going to be interesting to see how we can improve on the offensive line. Yeah, I think that is evident. You need to improve there. That being said, we are 10 months away from opening up against Notre Dame at Lambeau. If we get our butt kicked in that game, is the hot seat starting to heat up again?
Okay.
I would say absolutely the seat is hot. Entering next season, the seat is warm. I mean, you're already sitting on a warm seat. I mean, you're in the car, the seat warmer is on, okay? You can't turn it off until you start winning some big games. They did a couple of big ones at home this year, of course, right? Not too long ago, not even 2 weeks ago. You look at what happened and highlight Illinois as a victory, and then earlier in November, Washington as a victory. That cooled the seat a little bit, I can tell you, with a lot of fans for sure. But yeah, it's a fair reflection of the season for Mike, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong at all. I think he's pretty much spot on there with the injuries, putting them behind. The schedule is terrible. I mean, we knew coming in the schedule was going to be tough. Right. And the schedule beat them up really like we all feared that it probably would. Offense being a problem, offensive line needing improvement, absolutely. And yeah, I don't know if the game against Notre Dame is going to be the one that puts him back on the hot seat. Because I mean, Notre Dame's a really, really good team.
Right.
It's like saying like, hey, you couldn't beat Ohio State, you couldn't beat Indiana, now your job's in jeopardy. I don't know if that's necessarily it. if they start losing to some of these kind of more middle of the road Big Ten teams, and maybe more middle of the road non-conference teams, if they start playing bad against them, then I think the seat's really going to be getting a lot hotter. But losing to Notre Dame, I don't think is going to change much in terms of the hot seat for Fickell, just because with what Notre Dame is as an opponent, you can really only expect so much from this team with where they're currently at.
Yeah, I just think you got to look at that game, and it's going to be an absolutely can't get blown out. I mean, it's essentially a home game. Of course, it's at Lambeau. That's more
if
more
it's
close
37 to nothing, like it was against like Iowa, then it's like, oh, okay, like you're not even close.
You need to prove you need to prove
you can be competitive.
That you have
to
an
be
offense.
competitive.
Exactly. And longtime listener from Iowa, used to weigh in a lot on Wisconsin here. Messages in, football report card, offensive line, F, quarterback, F, running back, F, C, offensive line, wide receiver, tight end, D, C, quarterback. Yeah, offense was a problem. Defensive line, C, linebacker, C, defensive backs, D, place kicker, D, punter, D, head coach, F, DC, defensive coordinator, Mike Tressel, C, F for Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator. I would look at this and I would say maybe a little pessimistic on the defensive side. Defensive backs were not any good this year. I think that was obvious. But you saw some turning of the tide at linebacker in particular. I think that's got to be a B. I mean, if you retain Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano, which in all likelihood is going to be the case, they both have made it very clear that they want to be here. Maybe if they have agents, I'm not sure. They probably do. Agents probably said, please stop talking like that. I mean, you're hurting your earning opportunity by saying, no, we're going to be here. We plan on being here for years to come, because the portal allows these kids to make a lot of money. I would say B because Christian Allegro is going to be back. Sebastian Cheeks is all likelihood going to be back. Aaron Witt could come back. I mean, you got an opportunity there to reflect on that position group and say they're doing well. It feels like Matt Mitchell's a hell of a coach in that outside linebackers room. So I would stand to say that maybe linebacker deserves to go up higher here on Iowa's report card. Punter, too. I mean, come on. Sean West. He was not good Saturday. But he's been pretty good in limited action this year. I don't want to keep filibustering too much longer because I do have Fickell ready. We'll play back a handful of comments from him following, once again, Saturday's loss, 17-7 on the road against Minnesota.
Again, that's it's a tough one to swallow. Like any last game in particular, the end of the season, rivalry game, all the things that build up to this. We weren't able to get the job done. There's a lot of reasons why we didn't get the job done today. You're not just going to point at one specific thing, but we weren't able to, take care of the football. We weren't able to be better than we needed to be in the red zone. And so those things right there kind of are accumulation of why, it didn't go our way. And, it's very, very difficult and tough to swallow. There's a lot of, there's no consolation prize. I know that that locker room in there, feels as bad as you possibly could. And I wanted nothing more than to end this thing for the seniors in a way that they could be proud of. And I just wanted to reiterate it to them, though, that it didn't end the way you wanted it to. This hurts, it stings, and it should. But there's a lot to be proud of amongst that older group of their ability to keep us together. And we didn't finish well last year. We didn't finish well today. But there's definitely a different feel inside that locker room, and had a lot to do with the leadership of that older group, of senior guys in particular. That, like I said, no matter what, outcomes obviously determine a lot of things, but they don't determine how you really feel about those guys in that locker room and what you always remember. And I'm proud to say that I remember that crew as the guys that have battled through more in a season than I've ever imagined and I've ever been a part of. And for that, I am incredibly and extremely proud of the seniors in particular.
Yeah, Luke, with the quarterback switch, obviously we saw the passing switch that needed to happen with Hunter going in there. But after the turnovers, was there consideration of going back to Carter?
I mean, there was a consideration in all that we were doing. You saw us at the end of the first half. We went a 2-minute drive and went with Hunter, and then got down to the red zone and went back with Carter. It's nothing against Carter. It's just the way that they were playing. And we thought that, going in at halftime and coming back out, that they gave us a chance to loosen some things up. And, they moved the ball decent. just couldn't capitalize. We get down closer to the red zone and we turn the ball over, and those are the things that you can't overcome. You know, you can overcome a lot of different things when you play complementary football, but turnovers is probably the most difficult thing to overcome.
Luke, your defense, I think you held them to 218 or so yards. Does that kind of also make it tough to swallow?
I mean, it's a tough day out there. I mean, it's tough sledding in the weather, and yeah, I mean, they late in the game they didn't even have 200. I don't think, you know. But the truth of the matter is you gotta find ways to play better in the red zone, and there's always things that you can nitpick at. We got to find ways to create some turnovers, and got to give them credit. They did a good job protecting the football, taking care of the football. They didn't turn it over, you know. But we got to find better ways to get the ball and to create some energy and momentum defensively. In a game like this, and obviously when your offense is, you know, battling the way they were battling and turn the ball over, we got to be able to, you know, flip the switch and do the same thing on our defense.
Luke, I know you just got off the field, but what do you feel like you need to do this offseason to address the quarterback, though, and what you feel you have to do to beat?
Yeah, it's been a battle. I say a struggle. I don't want to say it's been a battle all year, and just the injuries in particular, and then trying to figure out which direction do you go, hoping to get guys back and not getting guys back, and it's just created this, you know, hesitation offensively at how you were going to go about things. And then finally, when you decided, like we talked about, hey, we're going to go with Danny and start moving the offense that direction. And then, you know, he gets hurt, and, you know, then you got to go with Carter because that's the direction that you were going. And now you got to go bounce back and forth. It makes it difficult. We've got to make sure that room is solidified more than anything. We've said that, you know, since we came here, and it's been just an Achilles heel, meaning you can say injuries, but I just mean the depth of that room, the ability to, you know, have the next man up mentality that can progress the offense in the things that we need to be able to do. And in some ways, it's not fair. It's not fair to Coach Grimes. It's not fair to that group of guys that, you know, hey, this is what we want to be. This is how we're going to go. And then when you got to go backwards and you got to go left and you got to go right, just because the nature of, you know, the position in general, what those guys can do well. We've got to address that.
Luke, I know you talked about those seniors, you know, guys like Rico, Daryl, maybe Barton, and some of the offensive guys as well, like Riley. How did they, you know, throughout kind of the hills and valleys, steady the ship in some of those times?
You know, it was a constant consistency that they came in every week with. You know, I think that they did a really good job, and you know, I don't see everything, but of policing the locker room and making sure the guys inside that locker room, and there's a genuineness to those guys. And I think that's what, more than anything, won the locker room, you know, and kept the locker room moving in the right direction. And, you know, it's not always what they say, but it's how they went about their business. You know, Ben Barton's not a overly vocal guy, but I can tell you that there's nobody that's had more energy and been happier through this entire process than Ben Barton. And, you know, it's been a battle and it's been a struggle. And, you know, Daryl Peterson is as consistent of a person, kid, player now that I've been around. And so those are the things, you know, that their persistence and their consistency gave us a chance. And I'm gonna be honest with you, we just, unfortunately, even in the last couple of years, it's been hard to overcome a lot of the things that we've gone through. And a lot of it is just the consistency of the guys that are standing up front, the guys that run the locker room, you know, and you know, making sure they hold people accountable. I think that's where the other thing, that within each of those rooms, there was enough depth to continue to hold people accountable that gave us the chance to, you know, play better at the end of the year.
Luke Fickell, after Saturday's 17-7 loss on the road to Minnesota, who have now won 4 of the last 5 Axe games, and they take command, the Gophers do, of the all-time series lead, 64-63-8. That's Minnesota's record against Wisconsin. So I should lay it out there. Wisconsin 63-64-8 all-time against Minnesota. I thought most poignant of the comments were those at the end, making mention of Ben Barton and Daryl Peterson and their impact on the program. They're not going to be around anymore. I mean, they're going to be resetting next year with some of the leadership gentlemen graduating, moving on to the next level, hopefully. And this is one of those games that you absolutely wanted to get for them, and you fall short once again. Tough pill to swallow as we have more people weighing in here on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. Evan, the golf pro, the seat will continue to be hot. Offensive line is a huge concern, especially for Wisconsin's history. If Fickell can't get that figured out, we will see another season like the last two. Defense is solid, some talent on that side of the ball, but always in Wisconsin history, we need to get a quarterback and have a solid offensive line. Tommy in Sun Prairie. Hey, our punter was pretty darn good this year. Bright spot. Yeah, I guess.
Give him all the NIL money, Sean West. He was your leading passer for one of those games. But yeah, it's and that's part of college athletics, where you have your seniors, your leaders that graduate, they move on, they leave. And you got to have your next group come in and take over those kinds of roles and fill them. And it's always tough. It always is when you see those seniors move on. But that's kind of the genesis of college athletics. That's how it goes. You can't have guys stick around forever on long-term contracts as much as we all may like, and as much as some of them do seem like they do stick around forever. So I think it was great for those guys to be able to get the senior night win at least. I mean, their last game at Camp Randall to get the win there. But yeah, you'd like to end it with an axe because 4 out of the 5 years, those guys went their entire college career and they won the axe just once. I mean, that's tough for this group. Not
great.
Yeah, you'd like to see that change. You'd like to see them carry on this momentum and be able to be better and get that axe back heading into next year. Maybe next year with it being at Camp Randall, they'll be able to get it back. But just a tough. They better. Absolutely, they absolutely
need it.
better. They need it back absolutely next year. And just kind of building off this momentum, they should be a much better team next year. The schedule should be much better. And they'll be looking for much more positive things next season. But this year, it has some positives for sure, Nick. A lot of negatives as well, but at least we have some things to build off of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Rancorp, a lot of people would agree with this. In my eyes, the Badgers could have really made up for a lot and went out on a great note if they could have won the axe back. They were impressing the hell out of me since the Oregon game. Now I'm on the fence again. I think a lot of people are in the same camp as Rancorp as the Badgers football season officially comes to an end with a 4-8 record and no trophies in the trophy case once again in 2025. We'll try and be more positive pushing forward in the program. A lot of Packers talk. How about that team? 8-3-1. They're geared up for a hell of a matchup with the 9-3 Bears, who are in first place in the NFC heading into December for the first time since 2006. What a turn of events. We'll dig into that and more on the other side. You've got D.N.D. on the game.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
D.N.D. will be back in just a moment.
iHeartRadio. Here are the top Fleetwood Mac songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, Don't Stop.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop using me. It'll be better than before. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone.
Number 2, Dreams. Number 1, Go Your Own Way.
You can go your own way. Go your own way. You can call it another day.
Hear more from Fleetwood Mac and similar artists now. Search for Fleetwood Mac on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Now, a year in rock spotlight. 1974.
In April, Diamond Dogs is a #1 album in the UK for David Bowie. It goes to #5 in the US.
Rebel, rebel, you torn your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
In June of 1974, Chicago funk band Rufus, featuring lead singer Shaka Khan, score a #3 hit with Tell Me Something Good. UK supergroup Bad Company have a #1 album and a top 5 single, Can't Get Enough.
Can't get enough, enough of your love. I can't get enough, enough of your love. I can't get enough of your love. Yeah, this one, this one.
And Dutch hard rock band Golden Earring have a #13 hit with the single Radar Love.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1974. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight. 1967.
Try to set the night on fire.
In January of 1967, Los Angeles band The Doors released their debut album, which eventually goes to #2, and features the single Light My Fire, which goes to #1 in July. The Rolling Stones released Ruby Tuesday, an ode to a groupie written by Keith Richards. The song takes them to #1 in the U.S. in March. And San Francisco band The Jefferson Airplane released the surrealistic Pillow album, scoring 2 top 10 hits with White Rabbit and Somebody to Love.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love.
In March of 67, Buffalo Springfield re-releases their debut album to include the hit single For What It's Worth. In April of 67, Give Me Some Lovin' by the Spencer Davis Group goes to #7 in the U.S., with vocals by 17-year-old Steve Winwood. And in May, Elvis Presley marries his 21-year-old girlfriend Priscilla in Las Vegas. In May, Mitch Ryder hits #4 with Devil with a Blue Dress, Good Golly Miss Molly. And the Jimi Hendrix Experience released their debut in the UK. In July, they toured the U.S. as the opening act for the Monkees in support of the U.S. album release.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1967. Coming up.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
You've got D.N.D. here on the game. Nick Pruswitz and Dave Gasper here on a Monday. Everybody probably, slowly getting back into the flow of things after a long weekend. It'd been a long time since I had gone that long without really being on the air. And we were on the air, I mean, every day, essentially, besides yesterday in my regard. But it still held out in a way that it felt weird. But as we transition into the program, there's a lot of Packers conversation to be had. I mean, they are now going to be playing the Bears for the division lead come Sunday. That game was flexed from noon to 3:25 a couple weeks ago. Great call by the NFL to put it in a more prestigious time slot. But as we look back at yesterday, Max Brosmer, talking about Minnesota Gophers, a former Minnesota quarterback, makes his NFL starting debut. And he is picked off 4 times. Sacked 4 times in a game at which the Vikings lost 26-0 to the Seahawks in Seattle. Is that bad? It's terrible. And even more, Justin Jefferson, 2 catches for 4 yards on 6 targets. Minnesota is broken. And I posed this question to you, Dave, and we thought it'd be good to potentially bring to the air. Essentially, if you had to be given the opportunity to choose an elite quarterback with an okay roster or an okay quarterback with a great roster, which one are you picking? Because Minnesota doesn't have an okay quarterback. They have bad quarterbacks, but they have a great roster. They're 4-8.
Give me an elite quarterback every single time. Every single time, because it is the most important position on the field. It is the most important position that there is. You have to have an elite quarterback to make it anywhere. We saw this for a number of years with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was an elite quarterback with a very mediocre roster for a lot of those years, especially on defense, a very mediocre roster. And he was able to take them to the playoffs a lot and able to give them chances at Super Bowls quite a bit, even though they didn't quite get there again after 2010. But you have to have an elite quarterback. It doesn't matter how great, how elite the rest of your roster is, how great your defense is, how great your receivers are. If you can't get your receivers the ball, your receivers kind of aren't going to be as great. So you can have all the great other things you want, but the true test, the true thing that will make your team good is having a quality quarterback. So if your quarterback is just okay or mediocre, it doesn't matter if the rest of your team is good. The whole thing is going to suck because you don't have the quarterback. So give me an elite quarterback trying to lift up a mediocre roster any day of the week over a team with no quarterback answer whatsoever.
And the Packers fall in the gray area between those two. I think that Packers have a great roster and they have a good quarterback, right? And I think that this is mirroring, not identically, but pretty close to what happened in 2010. I mean, we thought Rodgers would be very good, but at that point, you couldn't stamp him, give him your full stamp of approval.
Yeah.
You thought he looked great. You thought, like, okay, there are flashes here. Maybe he could be a long-term, very talented NFL starting quarterback. Then he elevates his game the next year after they've won the Super Bowl, becomes an MVP, wins 3 more MVPs, and you realize he's one of the greatest of all time. I think right now, between the threshold of okay and elite, Jordan Love is closer to elite than he is okay. I think he's certainly proven to be a good NFL quarterback. And that's a difference maker right now in this division between some of those teams. There is no quarterback in Minnesota, 0, nobody. So they're dead last. And then you start asking yourself exactly how good is Caleb Williams, or is the surrounding roster very good? I think they could be an example of what we just highlighted, an okay quarterback with a talented roster. How far can they go? Not as far than you would think. I think that you look at Bo Nix and the Broncos and you say, yeah, they're 10-2.
Yeah.
But I have no confidence that Bo Nix is going to be the reason that they elevate their game and win a Super Bowl. And are they as good as last year's Eagles? Because Jalen Hurts is a pretty good quarterback, but no one's saying he's top 10, right? I mean, he's fringe top 10. I'd say
some people saying he
no
is,
one's saying he's top 5. Let me narrow it, right? No one is saying he is in the uppermost echelon in the NFL. Certainly as a passer, he's not. But they won a Super Bowl last year. So it's all about team building. And I think the Vikings dropped the ball to the extreme. And literally they dropped the ball yesterday a couple of times with fumbles and 4 interceptions. Yeah. I mean, terrible quarterback play in Minnesota. They are a non-thought now moving forward for me until they have a quarterback in this division. They're going to hold up the rear.
Yeah, they are until McCarthy's able to figure it out. If he's able to figure it out, we'll see how long that takes. Clearly, Max Brosmer is not the answer. I mean, they kind of knew that. He was a backup anyways. They just threw him in there because McCarthy still has a concussion. But, it could be a struggle for them for a while until they find a quarterback. And that's why so many teams spend so many resources trying to find one, because it's incredibly difficult.
Incredibly hard at the collegiate level as well. Badger's been looking for a long time for an elite one, but Packers might have one. We'll dig more into the NFC North and more as the show goes on. You've got D.N.D. on the game.
You are listening to D.N.D. with Doug, Nick, and Dave.
This pains me to say this, but Dave's right.
Hey, why does that pain you to say? I'm right quite a bit, I think.
Middays here on the game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight from 1977.
In February of 77, 60s band leader Manfred Mann has a new band and scores a U.S. #1 hit with a cover of Bruce Springsteen's song Blinded by the Light. In March, Foreigner released their debut album. It goes to #4 in the U.S., driven by 2 top 10 singles, Cold as Ice and Feels Like the First Time. Philadelphia blue-eyed soul duo Hall & Oates have their first U.S. #1 with Rich Girl from their 5th album, Bigger Than the Both of Us.
Oh, you're a rich girl, and you're going too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. But you can rely on the old man's money.
Fleetwood Mac's album Rumors is released. It's their second #1 album in a row in the U.S., dominating the charts at #1 for 31 weeks. It spawns 4 top 10 singles, including the #1 Dreams.
When the rain washes you clean, you know.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more. From 1977, coming up. iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Elton John to talk about performing live.
Going on stage was when I could show off and be comfortable. And you know, I was always a bit timid off stage. And the stage gave me an outlet. And you'll find that with many performers, whether they be dancers, actors, singers, musicians. They have the outlet on stage to become the person they're not off stage. And I think that's what eventually led to my troubles, along with the drugs and the drink, is that the person who was fast becoming popular as Elton John and becoming, you know, the #1 rock star in the world had kind of escaped from the person off stage, and the balance was completely off kilter. And the more I became successful, the harder I worked, and the less time I concentrated on being normal or trying to be kind of normal. But people who knew me privately were shocked, I think, at what I was doing off stage. Rather, you know, they knew what I was going to do on stage. But off stage, they were shocked and disappointed.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Elton John and all your favorite artists.
iHeartRadio. Here are the top Foreigner songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, Hot Blooded.
Show you loving like you never knew. That's why I'm hot-blooded. Check it and see. Feel the fever burning inside of me. Come on, baby, do more than dance.
Number 2, I Want to Know What Love Is.
Change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me.
Number 1, Cold as Ice.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love.
Hear more from Foreigner and similar artists now. Search for Foreigner on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1970.
Don't keep me waiting here. Leave me to
The Beatles released the Phil Spector-produced album Let It Be. It generates 3 #1 hits, Get Back, Let It Be, and their final #1, The Long and Winding Road. The Kinks song Lola, about a romantic encounter with a transvestite, makes #2 UK and #9 US. In July, the Stooges released their second album on Elektra Records, Fun House. And British band Mungo Jerry are #1 in the UK, #3 in the US with the single In the Summertime.
have a drink, have a drive. Go out and see what you can find.
In August, Eric Clapton releases his first solo album and scores a top 20 hit with his cover of J.J. Cale's After Midnight. Neil Diamond scores his first #1 with Cracklin' Rosie. September of 1970, Neil Young has a top 10 album with After the Gold Rush. War, an anti-war protest song by Edwin Starr, tops the charts.
What is it good for? You tell me. Say it.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1970. Coming up.
Listen to us live 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app and watch our shows each weekday on YouTube, Facebook, and X. We are the Game.
How many times must we take this disgrace? Another Bears fan throwing insults in our face. The Packers are the greatest team to ever play the game.
Just gonna let this
Even
roll a
if
little
from
bit.
time to time they've been a little lame. How could you ever love a team with Jim McMahon? Not even Porky Pig was as big a him. They got a reputation that's mostly based on luck.
Here it is.
The Bears still suck.
Yeah, they do.
The Bears still suck. The Bears,
The Bears
suck.
still
The Bears
suck.
still suck. The Bears still suck.
They really, 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 really suck.
Yes, the Bears
Still suck. It is Bears week. We have flipped the calendar. The Packers got done with Thanksgiving, and now officially it is Bears week. The Packers playing the Bears on Sunday for the first time this season, and we got to play the classic, the Happy Schnapps combo. The Bears still suck, but they also might be legit because we've been talking about this team, how they're kind of paper tigers, paper bears, how they're frauds, and they really aren't as good as their record says they are, but they were able to beat the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles on Black Friday and looked pretty good doing it. So, Nick, I think the question needs to be asked as we're heading into this week, are the Bears legit? Because certainly the Packers themselves can't overlook the Chicago Bears with what they've been able to do this year, first season under head coach Ben Johnson, how Caleb Williams and that offense has started to look, how inspired that team has been playing. Packers can't overlook them, but the Bears seem to be a true legitimate contender for the NFC North now.
Yeah, they seem to be a contender, in my opinion, for the NFC. I think it's hard to write off a team that's 9-3. You can find problems in their game, no doubt about it. I mean, look, Caleb has not made that jump. I mean, people wanted to see him jump from being okay as a rookie to being good, maybe great in year two, first year with the offensive savant Ben Johnson. He's 17 of 36 for 154 yards in this game. I mean, his QBR is 49.1. His quarterback rating is his passer rating, is 56.9. I mean, not impressive work by Caleb Williams. But what's most notable is they retooled that offensive line completely, and it has been stellar. And the Eagles hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher this season. And both DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monungai get over 120 yards and a touchdown each. This is a legitimate rushing attack on the other side with a defense that has been certainly opportunistic this year. I believe they lead the NFL in turnovers. They are playing games in a form that is a winning recipe. They're controlling the time of possession. They're winning in the trenches. Like the Bears, are they better than the Packers? No, I do not believe that to be the case. And they're going to play Sunday. They'll play twice in the next 3 weeks, including this weekend. But I think that they are better than the field. And that's the question. If they're better than the Pack, and they are now, in my opinion, in the grouping of teams that I think are true NFC title contenders. Would I put them at the top? No. Would I put them in the top 5? Probably, but at 5. I would look at the Rams, the Seahawks, the Packers for sure as teams above them, and they just beat the Eagles, but I'd give them the benefit of the doubt as the defending champs. The Bears don't still suck, but they can still suck on Sundays against the Packers because the last couple of years, especially last year, Bears were better than the Pack.
Nick, there's an important thing to remember here in all this, that no matter what happens, no matter what their record is, the Bears still suck, and they always will, no matter what. I don't care what their record is. I don't care how good they are. The Bears still suck. That is an important distinction that we have to make. But yeah, they certainly are a much improved team this year. And that rushing attack is certainly no joke. But also, the Packers' rush defense is top 10 in the league. So in terms of being able to stop them, that should hopefully help quite a bit. Philadelphia, bottom third of the league, ranked 24th in rush defense. And the Bears themselves have the 28th ranked rush defense. So the Packers should be able to run the ball quite a bit against them. Josh Jacobs, getting him back to full health, and Emmanuel Wilson, what we've seen from him. But it puts so much on this game, Nick, because we've seen now, like, we're in the gauntlet here of the Packers facing their division rivals, because they faced the Lions in week 1, then they had no one in the division for the longest time, and then you go Vikings, Lions, Bears, bing, bang, boom, right in a row. Oh my. And Packers beat the Vikings, no problem. Packers beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. So they've got a little bit of a head of steam here heading into this game. So do the Bears as well. But the Bears currently sit as a top seed in the NFC after this week's games have all played out. So the Bears are a legit opponent for the Packers. I mean, this is going to be their toughest test yet. And having to face them twice in 3 weeks because of the scheduling quirk that is this year, that's just going to make it that much more difficult on them. Because, I mean, both teams, I mean, it's basically an unstoppable force and an immovable object going at each other this weekend.
Yeah, you look at the Bears this season. I mean, they're giving up points, right? They've given up 307 points this year on defense, which is the most in the division by a good margin, 26 more than Minnesota has given up. But they've been able to put up 313 points. People want to circle point differential and highlight how that makes them look weaker than their record, right? Just 6 points in the positive direction this year. Packers plus 68, Lions plus 76. A large chunk of that plus 76 was when the Lions played the Bears and destroyed them early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at it and I'd say right now, last week we were talking about, okay, what would a win for the Packers prove against the Lions? Or what does that game mean to both sides? And we had so many conversations about, if the Lions are the best team in the division, if the Packers are the best team in the division. We didn't talk Bears because we don't believe it, and I still don't believe it. But now the question is if the Bears are the second best team in the division, because I think the Packers are. I think the Packers are number one, and I think that they have a far more consistent approach, albeit occasionally very frustrating offensive approach. You don't know what the hell you're going to get with the Lions right now. Dan Campbell is not Ben Johnson, so they've taken a step back in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth down success rate was largely contingent upon having Ben Johnson calling the fourth down plays. And then you see an over against the Packers on Thanksgiving for Dan Campbell. He's gotten to a position where that fourth down is not as automatic or as consistent as it used to be. And the Bears have the guy who made the Lions special. So now I'm wondering, okay, we feel confident that the Packers are the best team in the division. And you say, well, why do you say that, Nick? Well, they did what they did on Thanksgiving without Jaden Reed, without Matthew Golden, without Tucker Kraft, with a banged up offensive line. And Micah Parsons is rounding into form. They're getting better on the defensive side of the ball. And the Lions scored 27 points. People will say, well, that's not that impressive for the defense to hold them to that. It's a high-flying, short rest. You don't know what you're going to expect. You're on the road against a talented team that's already seen you this year. And they couldn't really at any point find a way to establish themselves. St. Brown goes down early. They don't have Laporta. Their offensive line is in shambles. But who isn't hurt at this time of year?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the Bears as the better team than Detroit.
Yeah, I think they've certainly proven that to this point. But, I mean, looking at both those teams, the Bears are 1-2 in the division. The Lions are 1-3 now facing division teams. So they're kind of having a little bit of that struggles that the Packers had last year against divisional opponents, where they just couldn't get really much going against them. How worried are you about the Bears? How legit do you think they are? 877-794-1973 is NicoletLaw.com talk and text line, the number to chime in here. And yeah, I think the Bears, they've turned into that legit of a team where they can cause you problems. It's going to be a close game, as you brought up, Nick, with their point differential just +6. And before this last game, they were in the negatives in terms of point differential, despite being atop the division. So that's what makes this game really all the more crucial to me, because you've put both of these games in the latter half of the season. This is your first time playing them. Like, you're already done with the Lions, and this is now your first time playing the Chicago Bears. So it's something where I think it makes the most sense that the NFL flexed it to 325. First of all, because that game should not have been a noon game to begin with. But yeah, I think the Bears have become a legit problem, and this game is going to be close on Sunday because no matter what injuries they have or whatever it is, they're just going to find some way to get themselves in it and be close. And the Packers are going to have to be able to fend them off because even on Thursday, even on Thanksgiving, the Packers playing the Lions still were able to kind of answer and make it somewhat close there during that game.
Yeah, the Lions had every opportunity to win it. I think that's the expectation when you have two talented teams playing each other for a second time with an already pre-existing substantial relationship, right? They're in the division. They play twice a year. They know each other's personnel really well. They know each other's tendencies really well. As much as Dan Campbell is a completely different man than Ben Johnson, there are flavors of Dan Campbell mixed in for years. It's not like Ben Johnson operated exclusively on offense. It's in all likelihood a group tandem effort in the offensive game plan every week that includes the head coach, Dan Campbell. But when you look at what the Bears have done this year, they have been incredible at forcing turnovers. And part of that's luck, part of that's deflections and opportunities. And they have 17 interceptions. That's 4 more than Jacksonville this year for the most in the NFL. And they've also forced 11 fumbles, the Bears have, which is pretty good, right up there towards the top 5, tied with a bunch of teams. But they've recovered a total of 7, which is, once again, top 5. Like, they have forced 24 turnovers between interceptions and fumbles this year. Like, they are finding ways to get the ball in their hands on the defensive side. And that's not necessarily something you can game plan for if you're the Packers. You just have to be able to corral the ball, hold on tight, find ways to not put it in difficult windows if you're Jordan Love, because at this point, momentum is built for the Bears to force turnovers, and they're getting healthier. I mean, Jalen Johnson just returned, one of their top defensive backs. So I would look at this game and I'd say there's no reason to believe that the Bears aren't better than they were last year. And last year, the Packers probably should have gone 0-2 against them.
Yeah. But I mean, there's also no reason to believe that the Packers aren't better than
Packers
they were last
are better
year.
for sure.
Packers are 100% better than they were last year. So that's what's going to make this game all the more interesting. And adding to that interest and intrigue, of course, is Ben Johnson himself. And when he got the job in Chicago, and he called out Matt LaFleur by name. So you have that. And Matt LaFleur has seen that. He obviously knows what's going on there. And those two guys don't really have a super close relationship. And that just adds another level to this because, Nick, as we've seen over the years, pretty much every single new coach that comes into Chicago has made some sort of joke or some sort of point about beating the Packers, making sure that they can take down the Green Bay Packers. And Ben Johnson not only called out wanting to beat the Packers twice a year, but also Matt LaFleur by name, calling him out. I have got to imagine that's just going to add another level to the preparation here for Matt LaFleur, that he's going to really try and stick it to Ben Johnson in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, bulletin board material for the team and the coaching staff. It is obvious that Ben Johnson is a clear upgrade over what they've had maybe for a very long time. I get it. People are going to say, well, Matt Nagy won coach of the year. Matt Nagy, schmaggy. This guy is legit. I mean, Ben Johnson was the belle of the ball. Every open head coaching job, he was the top guy they wanted for it. And Atlanta passed up on potentially bringing him in 2 years ago when they hired Raheem Morris. The Vegas team let him kind of leave without a contract. They end up with Pete Carroll, who seems to be potentially a one-and-done guy. Tom Brady pushed hard for Ben Johnson, maybe even crossing the line over the air on occasion, talking about his conversations with Ben Johnson last year while he was on the call with Fox. Like, this is bulletin board material. Ben, I don't know why you do it. That after that was, put out there, they then questioned Matt LaFleur about his existing relationship, which doesn't exist with Ben Johnson. They have had little to no interaction at all. So then it starts to come down to, okay, well, what's the point for Ben? You get some, brownie points, with the fans, right? You get some, some cachet with the audience. Picking on the Packers.
Yeah.
I think it's
Everyone
deeper than
does
that.
it. Yeah.
I think from a Ben Johnson perspective, he thinks he's the single brightest offensive mind in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Matt LaFleur is, at least in the past, been in that conversation. Hey, this guy is a really creative offensive coordinator. Look what he's done with Aaron Rodgers. Back-to-back MVPs for a guy that it felt like maybe he was on his way out of being a viable starting quarterback. And now, I think more often than not, people are like, okay, genius, figure it out. Why are you running out of the shotgun? Why
are you running fourth one out of shotgun? Yeah.
Why does the other team know it's company? Matt LaFleur's got to reestablish that, and it'd be a hell of a way to do it this weekend against the next guy, the next messiah in Ben Johnson on the offensive side.
Yeah, the guy who thinks he's the single brightest mind in
well, he
football.
Absolutely does.
Speaking of another guy who thinks he's a single brightest mind in football, Lane Kiffin. We're going to get into his shenanigans, that saga, which has shook the college football world. We're going to get into that on the other side as the coaching carousel is turning, and it is turning fast. And you're going to have people really just kind of getting dizzy, getting sick on that carousel because it has been insane this year, led by Lane Kiffin. We'll get into all of that and all those theatrics on the other side. We'll also get into a little bit of Brewers talk as well. Could an extension be on the way for Jacob Misiorowski? Potentially not, but we'll get into that coming up later on as well. Also, Nick Osen from 24/7 Sports will join us in the 12 o'clock hour as we talk Badgers as well. Their football season comes to an end, but their head coach not going anywhere. Luke Fickell staying put, but Lane Kiffin, he's already on the move. We'll get into that on the other side. This is D.N.D. here on the game.
The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. They really, 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 really suck. Yes, the Bears still suck.
Want to watch D.N.D? They're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X right now.
There you go.
There we go.
Just search 97.3 The Game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1968.
California's Creedence Clearwater Revival released their debut LP, which contains the number 11 single, Susie Q. And in August, American band Tommy James and the Shondells have a number 1 hit in the UK with Moni Moni. It goes to number 8 in the US. And the Doors have their first number 1 album and their second and last number 1 single with Hello, I Love You.
When she moves, my brain screams out this song.
In November of 68, Van Morrison releases his second solo album, Astral Weeks, and Joe Cocker has a UK number 1 with his cover of the Beatles with A Little Help from My Friends.
Don't you know I'm gonna make you with my friends?
And in December, Motown holds the top spot with number 1 hits from Marvin Gaye, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, and the Supremes with Love Child. The Beatles released their first single on their own Apple label, Hey Jude, backed with Revolution. The over 7-minute song went to number 1 in the US and the UK.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1968, coming up.
iHeartRadio. Here are the top police songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, Roxanne.
You don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne, Roxanne.
Number 2, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. Number 1, Every Breath You Take.
Every breath you take, Every step you take, I'll be watching you.
Hear more from the Police and similar artists now. Search for the Police on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
iHeartRadio.
Here are the top Journey songs that you thumbed up. Number 3, Separate Ways, Worlds Apart.
Someday love will find you. Break those chains that bind you. One night will remind you. Oh, we touched away on separate ways.
Number 2, Any Way You Want It.
Baby, who changed? Oh, she said, any way you want it, that's the way it is. Any way you want it, oh. I said, any way you want it, that's the way it is. Any way you want it.
Number 1, Don't Stop Believing.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street light, people.
Hear more from Journey and similar artists now. Search for Journey on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
iHeartRadio.
Here are the top Stevie Wonder songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, Part-Time Lover.
I'm with friends and we should meet. Just pass me by, don't even speak. Know the word is free. We're part-time lovers.
Number 2, Isn't She Lovely?
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than 1 minute. Oh.
Number 1, Superstition.
Very superstitious. Let us about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass.
Hear more from Stevie Wonder and similar artists now. Search for Stevie Wonder on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Why don't you tell me I'm leaving, never looking back again. You find somebody who does it better than he can. No more making you cry, no more gray skies. Still be flying on the
You know, this is exactly what Lane Kiffin told Ole Miss. I'm leaving, never coming back again. He departs dramatically for LSU on a 7-year, $91 million contract, bolting a college football playoff team, a top 6 team in the country, leaves them for the mess that has been LSU the last couple of years under Brian Kelly. And it has just shaken the entire college football world because, I mean, for LSU or for Ole Miss, where they go now, because Lane Kiffin actually had the gall, Nick, to ask to continue to coach Ole Miss as he's leaving them for a division rival. He had the audacity to ask them to stay on through that. And naturally, Ole Miss said, no, there's no chance you're going to be able to do that. Incredibly naive, but also this is Lane Kiffin, who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. I mean, he got fired by the Raiders by Al Davis because Al Davis called him a con man and a liar. And then he goes to Tennessee, spends a year there, and then dramatically bolts for USC. Tennessee fans are telling Ole Miss, guys, we told you so. We knew this would happen at some point. But yeah, Lane Kiffin, Nick, I mean, is this perhaps his most dramatic move yet, the most dramatic change we've seen in college football?
This is definitely the most dramatic move that he has made, just knowing what's at stake, right? This is a college football playoff team, a one-loss Ole Miss roster that deserves every chance to win this championship. But if I can play devil's advocate here, would it have made sense for Ole Miss to allow him to continue on? No, absolutely not.
No.
But, I mean, they'd have a better chance to win it. They'd have a better chance to have a national championship trophy in that case in their campus for the rest of their days if they had Lane Kiffin in town still with this team. I will say this. Kiffin went through a long process of substance abuse, to my understanding. And he's come out the other side, a whole different man. He spent a good series of years as an assistant coach, some of which at Alabama, before he went to Florida Atlantic, was successful there, went to an Ole Miss program that no one had ever thought of since Eli Manning in college football, and made them a 10-win team, a 10-win team, and an 11-win team. First time in program history. The dude's winning. And if you're trying to win a national championship and you do not feel like you have the resources, you got to go where there's more. And on top of that, how it's structured and these decisions having to be made when they're made, you're putting a guy in a position to potentially pass up on 7 years, $91 million.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't decide this weekend, he doesn't get to make that decision at any point. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So blame the system partially, blame the character, especially Lane Kiffin. I'm not going to sit here and denigrate his character, but I'm going to say that I think that he made the decision that he deemed was most appropriate for the future of his life and his family and his career.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Because when you're talking about, can you win a national championship at this spot? I mean, he is in a spot at Ole Miss where they could have won the national championship.
Right.
Like you are in the playoff. You got a pretty good seed. You got a pretty good chance to advance, to make your way through and win a national championship. So trying to tell me that, Ole Miss can't win a natty, like that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't track, because he's gotten them to the playoff. He's proven that they can do it. I mean, he's at an SEC school that is clearly invested. I mean, he's invested in the transfer portal. He's been fantastic with the transfer portal and building up that roster and building a program. And it's like, he's clearly proven that he can get it done there, that it can happen at Ole Miss. So trying to leave and say, no, it can't happen here. I got to go to LSU, where they haven't been able to do that for the past several years, and say, I got a much better chance over there. It just doesn't really fly as much with me. So yeah, I mean, he's gone through all this. He had kind of those tough days in the 2000s where he was, kept moving around, and then he kind of has the rebirth. He comes back. It seems like a brand new man, all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it still ends up being the same old Lane Kiffin. And he's burning the bridge as he's still standing on it. He's burning the bridge heading out of town and still being there. Like, it's incredible. Like going scorched earth, essentially, wherever you're going. Now, he's dragging his offensive coordinator with him.
That was the most ballsy move of them all. I mean, he said, you're either with me or you're not. You're going to get on this plane or you're not. Like, I want you to be a part of the LSU. And so Weiss goes with him as well.
Yeah. Now, he has denied this report. He has denied this rumor, Lane Kiffin, but who knows? With Lane Kiffin, it very, very possibly could be true.
They had that incredibly long meeting with Dean Carter, I believe their athletic director there at Ole Miss, at his house. It was supposed to be like
Marty
3 o'clock
Smith
yesterday.
So someone give Marty Smith a hug, because that poor man there at Ole Miss at the athletic facility all day long, like every half hour, trying to give updates, and it's like, they're still talking. I don't know. We'll see. Please, can someone give me a resolution? I don't know.
But I'm here forever.
They will not let me leave, but they won't let me in. So I'm just kind of stuck here. Poor Marty Smith. That man deserves an award for something. But yeah, that whole saga. I mean, it was basically tractor watch that we were experiencing all over again with Marty Smith down there in Oxford, Mississippi.
But that speaks to the challenges of this year's hiring cycle.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if Wisconsin had made the decision to move off of Luke Fickell, which I would have thought premature, certainly knowing what we know now about all the candidates that are or aren't out there. I mean, LSU didn't even pick from the guys that were available. They had to, they had to poach a guy from a program that already had the head coach. Like,
well, most of these programs are. I mean, Florida's getting Tulane's head coach.
Right.
We're seeing Auburn get USF's head coach.
But for me, that feels like the natural order of progression to pick off from smaller programs. Like, I mean, I'd put Ole Miss
Wisconsin
and LSU.
from Cincinnati, yeah.
Right. Ole Miss and LSU are essentially on the same plane. It's just that last step up, I think, from Ole Miss, an SEC program, to LSU, a legendary,
nationally
SEC
recognized.
program.
Yeah. So
right, I mean, a little bit more well established. They won the national championship 5 years ago. I mean, LSU has been to the mountaintop not particularly long time ago. So we'll see what Lane can do there.
It feels like
I'm excited for it. I love the drama of it. I mean, if it was here and Fickell got hired at Ohio State after having an incredible run here, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That would be. Yeah. That's basically what it is almost. In terms of comps, if Fickell were having an incredible run here. Now, as we've kind of talked about on the show, and as we've all kind of seen, it hasn't been that incredible of a run for Luke Fickell here, but still to be able to take them to that level, and leave in conference, for another team like that. It'd be one thing if it were a different conference or if you're moving up, but I mean, clearly LSU being that brand still carries that weight. For a guy like Lane Kiffin. But you mentioned it earlier. I think the problem that this is really exposing is the calendar. It is the schedule. Like the timing that these guys have in order to make these kinds of moves is so important. Like they have such little time to actually make anything, do anything. Now, granted, we have seen a positive here with the transfer portal being moved back to January 2nd. That's when the transfer portal first opened. So we're going to get the first couple of rounds of the playoff out of the way. We're going to get all the bowl games essentially out of the way before the transfer portal even opens. So that's good. That's a positive. But with the coaching hiring cycle, with that calendar the way that it is, these guys basically have to decide right away to get their staffs ready, get themselves ready for National Signing Day coming up when's National Early Signing Day? That's like next week.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, next week. So you got to get ready for that, because you want to have your coach in place for signing day. Otherwise, how are you going to get all your recruits? Your recruits could leave. Then you have no freshmen coming in. So you've got to figure it out by then. Then you've got the transfer portal. You got to get the guys ready for it, because the transfer portal also used to previously open like next week. So I think this is really exposing the problem here with the calendar, because you have a guy who is coaching a college football playoff team and he just up and leaves in the middle of it before we even get to the playoff. You don't see that. You don't imagine in college basketball, if in March, I think it was one of the coaches, whether it was Izzo or whoever it was, that brought up like, so you mean to tell me I can be a number 1 seed heading into March Madness, and then in the middle of March, I just pick up and leave and go to a different program? Like what?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't do that. But in college football, that's what's happening. That's what Lane Kiffin is showing here. And it just shows that whole thing is broken. They need to fix the calendar some way, somehow. I don't know how, because the way with fall sports works, you got to get guys in place by, next semester, that gets started late January, like, because these kids still have to all move around. But my goodness, this is a problem. And Lane Kiffin just made it so much worse and just exposed how bad it is.
Yeah, it is a problem, and it's a point to be made about this calendar. You're spot on. Dave, we get so caught up in planning these weeks out. Early signing day is this week. I mean, it is Wednesday through Friday. I mean, the opportunity for signing is in 2 days, and that's why you bring Lane Kiffin in. I mean, you got to sign these guys, and then you can flip guys. Think about this. I mean, guys who are going to go to Ole Miss, I'm going to flip now. I'm going to end up at LSU with 2 days right before the buzzer, I'm going to flip. And that's why you do this now.
Yeah.
If you can reorganize the schedules to make this so that this isn't a possibility, you're learning on the fly with this new college football playoff. The expanded playoff, it allows for situations like this to potentially happen. Like, I mean, Tulane's coach, he heads out. Like, I mean, you have an opportunity to see teams that are having great seasons on maybe lesser programs lose their coaches right before their biggest games because of how your schedule is organized. When it was a 4-team playoff, I feel pretty damn confident that none of those 4 guys were going to be in a position to decide,
right,
I'm going to leave for a different job. because you only have to win 2 games to win a national championship. Nowadays, it's a longer process, especially for Ole Miss, who will not get a bye. They'll have to win 4 games to win the national championship.
But still, you would imagine one of those top 12 teams in the country, you would imagine those coaches would not leave during a playoff run. I mean, we thought it was ridiculous last year when Penn State's backup quarterback, Bo Perbula, entered the transfer portal heading into the playoff. And all of a sudden, Penn State's like, whoa, we don't have a backup quarterback. Our backup quarterback's gone. That could be a problem for us. So we thought that was bad. We thought that was offensive back then. It's like, okay. And luckily they fixed the transfer portal issue by and large here. But still, for these coaches, it is just insane. And Mike from Merrill texts in here on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. Nick and Dave, here's one from left field. If Luke Fickell would have been fired, what type of commodity would he be in this carousel? I think he'd probably get a job.
No, I think he definitely would have. I think he would have been a top candidate, knowing what we know now and who teams are hiring. Penn State doesn't have a clue who's next there.
Yeah, Penn State was probably looking at a couple of options. They ended up losing them either to other jobs, or they just re-signed at their current spots. And then you see Pat Fitzgerald. He ends up, a guy with Big Ten experience. He goes to Michigan State. So Penn State's really kind of in a tough spot now because the way the coaching carousels work, they're kind of, it's almost like musical chairs. I know I'm mixing my games here and mixing the carnival stuff, but still, it's like you're playing musical chairs and you're the one that's currently left out without a chair because they still don't have a coach. You're looking at some of the contenders, and it's like, maybe some decent group of 6 types, group of 5, group of 6 school coaches. Maybe Brian Daboll. I've seen him suggested. It's like, I don't really know about any of their candidates there. I don't know if they're going to find better than what they had with James Franklin. So they could find themselves in tough spots. So if Luke Fickell was out there, they'd probably be looking at Fickell.
Yeah, I think that they'd have some interest for sure. I don't know where Luke would have ended up had he been available, but when you consider where some of these programs are at, you do have to wonder. And also to a point that has been made in the past, I mean, Penn State might hire someone and people might be underwhelmed, and he's a stud. Yeah. And then Lane Kiffin fails at LSU. I mean, we've seen it here at Wisconsin that it's not necessarily expectation immediate results. Luke Fickell was supposed to elevate the program, and we're still holding out hope that he can. But the direction they've trended in has suggested that maybe it's not on the table.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I've got a very strong feeling that Lane Kiffin is going to end up failing at LSU. I think the expectations are going to be immense. Yeah. And I think eventually his antics and all his stuff is just not going to end up working. Because, I mean, if you're a recruit too, it's like if you're a player, it's like, oh, wow, this guy's just going to bolt me, like absolutely no loyalty to me, developing me. I don't really know if that's going to end up working, at LSU or getting it. We'll see how many Ole Miss guys he brings with him in the transfer portal. But yeah, it's I just got a feeling it's not going to end up working out. Just like when Brian Kelly bolted from Notre Dame to LSU, thinking, oh man, they got such a great coach and he's going to go down there and go on this great run. It's like, nah, that didn't work. And there was some feeling at the time. It's like, this doesn't seem like a marriage that's going to work. I've got a feeling this is a marriage that's not going to last. Lane Kiffin and LSU,
it better last.
It better last. They signed him for 7 years. Otherwise the governor is going to step in and start firing people again. Because the governor is going to be in charge of who they hire.
Yeah, Louisiana's governor went on a rant. This comes from Joe Pompliano on X, who is of sports and business writing. He says, the governor goes on a rant about Brian Kelly's contract being financially irresponsible. And then the next coach would be given a performance-based contract only for LSU to give Lane Kiffin a 7-year, $91 million deal with an 80% buyout and no offset clause. Wow. In addition to that, I mean, if it gets to this point, there's an automatic escalator in his contract that makes him the highest paid coach in the country if they win a national title. But at that point, you've already won. You've already succeeded.
And also, LSU is going to pay his playoff bonus for Ole Miss this year if Ole Miss wins the Like LSU could pay Lane Kiffin $1 million if Ole Miss wins the national championship, which is just incredible. How they were able to get that into the deal, I don't know. Red Hot Tim Knott texts in on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. What are the odds we can convince Ole Miss to take Fickell? Great question. No, not happening. But Ole Miss has named their defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, their permanent head coach, not just interim, permanent. He is fully taken over. And Nick, I'm going to have to imagine that this is going to be one, trying to retain as much of their staff as possible and retain as much of their current players as possible by naming one of their defensive guys to take over. Now, granted, this could go fairly well for Ole Miss. I mean, they are forgoing a national search. They're just saying, forget about any of that. We are just keeping our defensive coordinator, and we are just going to run with him as our head coach. And, I mean, it makes sense to me. But when it kind of reminds me of Mississippi State, their other team in Mississippi, when Mike Leach died, and they named their defensive coordinator their next head coach, and it didn't go well, and they end up firing the defensive coordinator or their new head coach like a year or so later. So there's a chance that it could go poorly. But also, I do remember when Brian Kelly left for LSU and Notre Dame named their defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman the new head coach. That's gone fairly well. So I'm imagining Ole Miss is looking at this saying, like, we're trying to go that Marcus Freeman route, and maybe Pete Golding can be that guy, but that's
possible.
It's possible. But
it's not it doesn't stick out to me. Ole Miss is one of those destination jobs. I mean, whoever's next needs to continue to build off the momentum that Kiffin and his staff have to maintain Ole Miss as a legitimate threat in the SEC. I never heard about them at all my entire childhood, right? I mean, at all. I mean, Eli was there.
Yeah.
Right. And, way back, Archie, the grandpa, was there as well.
Yeah. And, historically, LSU, a much better job, much more prestigious program. And Ole Miss hasn't been. But in today's era of NIL, you can build, and transfer portal, you can build programs up. I mean, we're seeing Ole Miss be good. We're seeing Vanderbilt be good. We're seeing Indiana be good. There's a lot of these programs that weren't historically one of the top ones that have been able to put themselves in that playoff conversation. And Lane Kiffin leaves one dramatically and goes to LSU to try and build them back up. And of course, Lane Kiffin got booed at the airport heading out, which I thought was just...
You couldn't hear any of that, though. He was next to the jet engine. I don't think...
Oh, he noticed,
look, these people are cheering for me.
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah,
they're saying I'm number one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm number one. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You guys are number one, too. Yeah. I wish. It's
that
incredible.
Would be funny.
It's incredible.
Now he moves from Oxford to Baton Rouge. I mean, it's a lateral move in that regard, I think, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good for him. I mean, seriously, who are we to begrudge a guy for making a ton of money? I mean, $12 million a year is pretty nice.
Yeah. But, from what he said, it's not about the money. It's about how to build the program, and feels he can do it better at LSU. So he will go there, and we'll see how that ends up going, as the SEC is kind of in turmoil, and the whole NCAA head coaching cycle is just insane. And it's probably far better that the Badgers are not in it this year, because that would just be ridiculous. But, it's
pretty ridiculous. And now he gets to hang out with his daughter's boyfriend all the time.
Yeah, that's almost the that's the toughest part for that boyfriend. It's like, oh, see, this was fun back when you were over in Oxford. Now that you're going to be here coaching me, not sure I like this quite as much. That's going to be a tough scene for him, how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't get too awkward for him, but just insane. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk a little bit of Milwaukee Brewers, as we got some news on them, news or no news, over the weekend as well. Also, Nick Osen from 24/7 Sports will be joining us in the 12 o'clock hour. That's coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is D.N.D. here on The Game.
They better come back again. Call you shawty and tell him you found a new man.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
D.N.D. will be back in just a moment.
iHeartRadio. Here are the top Elton John songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, Tiny Dancer.
All the clothes are tiny dancer. Count the headlights on the highway. Baby darling, she's so blended.
Number 2, Rocket Man.
Papa, mind, they think I am at home. Oh, no, no, no. I'm a rocket man, burning out the fuse out every home.
Number 1, Benny and the Jets.
She's got a leg boots, I'm more have food. You know I'm better than a magazine. No, Benny and the Jets.
Hear more from Elton John and similar artists now. Search for Elton John on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1974.
Oh, the band on the run. Band on the run.
In January of 1974, the top-selling album of the year is released, Paul McCartney and Wings' Band on the Run. Bob Dylan, backed by the band, has his first #1 album with Planet Waves. In February, Jersey City's Kool and the Gang have a top 5 hit with Jungle Boogie. New York City's Kiss released their debut, which sells 75,000 copies without a hit single. In March of 74, Canadian band Rush released their debut album, Get a New Drummer, and go on their first U.S. tour. David Essex has the first of many top 10 hits in the UK and his only U.S. hit with the single Rock On, which goes to number 5. And Steely Dan hit the top 5 with the single Ricky Don't Lose That Number and have a top 10 album too with Pretzel Logic.
Ricky, don't lose that number. It's the only one you want. You might use it if you feel better when you get home.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1974. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1975.
In June of 75, the Bee Gees released the LP Main Course, featuring a more dance-oriented sound, and delivered 3 hit singles, including the #1 Jive Talkin'. In July, Fleetwood Mac shake things up. They add Americans Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks to the lineup and have a #1 album. And Wings released the album Venus and Mars, which goes to #1. Their U.S. tour features Paul McCartney's first live appearance in the U.S. since 1966.
I love is fine for all we know. For all we know, our love will grow. That's what the man said. Don't you listen to what the man said. He said.
In August of 75, the Eagles' 4th album goes to #1 and has 3 top 5 singles, including the #1 title track, One of These Nights. And the boss, Bruce Springsteen, is featured on the cover of Time magazine, and Born to Run becomes his breakthrough album, reaching #3 in the U.S.
Come on with me, chance like us. Baby, we were born to run.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1975. Coming up.
iHeartRadio.
Here are the top Pat Benatar songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, Love is a Battlefield. Number 2, We Belong. Number 1, Hit Me With Your Best Shot.
Hit me with your best shot. Why don't you hit me with your best shot. Hit me with your best shot. Fire away.
Hear more from Pat Benatar and similar artists now. Search for Pat Benatar on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
Welcome back to D.N.D. on the game. Dave Gasper here along with Nick Brusewitz. The NicoletLaw.com talk and text line is always open to you at 877-794-1973. Want to get into a little bit of baseball conversation here as we're a week away from the winter meetings in Major League Baseball down in Orlando, Florida, which I'm very excited to be at next week.
Let's go.
Yeah, so won't be on the show for those days next week, but very excited to be down there and seeing hopefully a bunch of moves happening with the Milwaukee Brewers. And you wonder if one of them might be an extension for one of the Brewers' top young pitchers, Jacob Misiorowski. We saw in a mailbag done by Kurt Hogue, friend of the show, at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel over the holiday weekend, that the Brewers and Jacob Misiorowski have yet to gain any traction really on extension talks. And Nick, this doesn't really surprise me at all in the slightest, because Misiorowski, he is incredibly talented and he has a very high ceiling, but there's also a lot of risk in him being a reliever, risk in him maybe not being able to stick in the starting rotation. And we did see him kind of struggle towards the end of the season as well. Came out of the gates hot. Then the league kind of, figured some things out on him. He had some struggles with command, did incredibly well in the postseason, but ultimately was not thoroughly dominant throughout his entire year. But with the hype that he's had, also making an all-star game, that definitely helped. He's going to be looking for probably some big-time cash if he's going to sign an extension. If the Brewers are going to sign Miz to an extension, they're probably looking for something team-friendly to lock in for the next couple of years. I don't see why Jacob Misiorowski would have any reason to sign that kind of a deal. Because if the Brewers are going to do this, they're probably going to be looking at something like Aaron Ashby's contract or Freddie Peralta's contract. When they signed that, it was about 5 years, $15 to $20 million those two guys signed for. Maybe with a couple of club options on the end of it. Misiorowski, probably at this point, you're looking for, a little bit above their Aaron Ashby. But for Miz, with how he's looking at it, it's like, hey, look, I'm a starter. I'm already an all-star. I've got all this going behind me. I've got the high-octane stuff. He's going to be looking for way more money than the Brewers are likely going to be willing to put into a team-friendly extension, because it wouldn't even be that team-friendly. So not really gaining traction on extension talks, this doesn't really surprise me at all.
No, and it shouldn't. And you got to consider the risk of him and his velocity and how hard he throws on that frame. You have to prove it at the professional level if you're Jacob Misiorowski that this is sustainable. And you're not going to pay a reliever, right? As you said, if he becomes a reliever, you're not going to want to be paying him starters money. I don't blame the Brewers. He's also not arbitration eligible for 6 years.
Well,
so,
he's not going to be a free agent for 6 years. He'll be arbitration eligible in 3. But yeah, you have him through the 2031 season. There is no rush to sign him to an extension. You'll have plenty of time to figure out what he is and how good he'll be. And even then, the Brewers don't like giving super long-term contracts to pitchers, because they can get injured really at any point. And especially someone as high-octane as Misiorowski, that certainly is very possible in the future. So you're almost better off taking it year to year. And Misiorowski, if he stays healthy, might be better off taking it year to year. We're going to take it hour to hour here as we go into the 12 o'clock hour coming up. Nick Osen will join us in that hour as well. Stick with us. This is D.N.D. here on a Monday on the game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight from 1977.
In June of 77, Ram Jam have a top 20 U.S. hit single with the cover of Lead Belly's song Black Betty. Chicago area rock band Styx have a U.S. top 10 album Grand Illusion, including the top 10 single Come Sail Away.
Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me.
In July of 77, the Grateful Dead veered towards progressive rock, adding strings, horn, and a choir on their ninth studio album, Terrapin Station. In August of 77, the King dies. Elvis Presley is found dead in his home in Memphis, Tennessee at the age of 42. Detroit rock vocalist Iggy Pop releases his second solo album, Lust for Life. It's his second collaboration with David Bowie. New York's Billy Joel releases his fifth album, The Stranger. It goes to number 2 in the U.S., with the single Just the Way You Are rising to number 3.
I want you just the way you are.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1977. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight. 1973.
Boston band Aerosmith released their debut album. It fares poorly. It would be re-released in 76 and yield a top 10 hit, Dream On.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all night.
Elvis Presley's live TV special, Aloha from Hawaii, is watched by more than 1 billion people worldwide and introduces the world to the rhinestone white jumpsuit. In February of 73, Alice Cooper has a #1 album with Billion Dollar Babies, along with 3 top 40 singles. Elton John also has a #1 album and his first #1 single with Crocodile Rock. Paul McCartney and Wings have a #1 single with My Love, and the Stooges signed to Columbia Records and released their final album, Raw Power, produced by David Bowie. In March, Pink Floyd releases the now legendary Dark Side of the Moon. It goes to #1 and becomes one of the best-selling albums of all time.
And everything under the sun is you. The sun is a great spot.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from
He's very knowledgeable, very intelligent guy, very personable guy.
Here's Dave Gasper.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks were finally able to end their losing streak over the weekend as they played against the Nets. They got the win there. Giannis with 29 points in that victory, which made him the 6th youngest player to reach 21,000 points in his career. Here's Doc Rivers.
Listen, every time he plays, I feel like he's breaking some kind of record. He is a generational player. And, you know, obviously I've only been here a year and a half or 2 years or whatever it is. I don't know, but he's a generational person too. And I think that's where we're all lucky, especially the people in Milwaukee is, you know, the playing obviously, but the person, when you can match his talent with who he is, that's doing a lot. So very, very happy for him.
High praise from Doc Rivers. The Bucks play again tonight against the Washington Wizards at 6 p.m.
All right, another victory. It has to be. They had lost 7 in a row before beating the Nets, which was huge. 8 of 9 had been losses before beating the Nets. The Wizards are just as bad. So you got to get a win here. Yep. 9-12. It's not a good mark. You got to get back on the right track and push forward. Giannis being out on the court is the obvious difference maker between where they were at and where they're going to be at moving forward. But if he gets hurt again, if he's forced to miss any action, they might fall into a hole that they can't dig themselves out of.
Yeah, it's certainly dangerous territory that they're in there. Also dangerous territory is where this college coaching carousel is going. Obviously, we talked about Lane Kiffin going to LSU. That's been the big story. But Jonathan Smith fired at Michigan State. Pat Fitzgerald, it sounds like, is going to get the job there after his stint at Northwestern ended kind of poorly. But he's ready to get back into coaching. He goes to Michigan State. Alex Golesh goes from USF to Auburn. He's going to be taking about like half his staff with him. He's taking several staffers going there to Auburn. John Sumrall is going from Tulane to Florida to take over there. Tulane's actually going to let John Sumrall finish out the season instead of forcing him to just kind of leave right away. So they're taking a different approach than Ole Miss, but also Tulane is not in the SEC like Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. Summerall is one of those guys that has been emerging over the last couple of years as a potential blue chip prospect of a sorts as a head coach. I mean, at Tulane, you're not necessarily in front of a national audience. At Florida, you absolutely will be. But it's really interesting, man, to think about how different programs have different opinions on things. My argument will stand. My opinion is that Ole Miss should have let Lane Kiffin do it and dealt with the backlash potentially. Like, you have a chance at a national championship year. Is it high?
Yeah.
Probably not. But
yeah.
I mean, also, you're not going to win now without him. How about that?
Yeah. And also, as much as I was saying before about how it'd be incredibly like naive to actually like let him stay and do all that, you know, just kind of thinking about it too, perhaps on the flip side, the longer he's staying there coaching with you means the less time he's actually able to dedicate to building that roster at LSU, whether it comes to National Signing Day, whether it comes to transfer portal. That's more focus he has to have there. But also you wonder, how focused is he going to be for those games? Because he's still going to be thinking about LSU and all that stuff. Is it just going to be kind of a, let's maybe lose this game and let's just kind of get me on my way?
There's no perfect way to go about it. And maybe because of the stakes being so high for Ole Miss, they're like, we absolutely can't run the risk of having a guy 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know what I mean? We need to have someone who's all in on this team this season, the rest of the way. And I think that's fair. I think it's also just like a ridiculous deadline and timeline that exists, as we've highlighted already. You got to change things up at this point.
Yeah, just insane. But we're seeing a lot of these group of 5 coaches get moves up, with Summerall there from Tulane, Golesh from USF. And we're now just seeing here, too, breaking in the last 20 minutes or so, UCLA is expected to hire James Madison's head coach, Bob Chesney, after their Sun Belt Championship game this weekend. So James Madison goes from Kurt Signetti, who leaves for Indiana, to then hire Bob Chesney to take over. And JMU has actually been pretty good still continuing that run of success. Now they lose their head coach again, going to UCLA.
Well, good luck making JMU your feeder program, Indiana. Now, how about that? Now,
how about that? Now UCLA's got
a they're going to get and they're both in the Big Ten, of course. And the Badgers will see UCLA next year, so I'm sure they'll be great.
Oh yeah, of course they will. And Mark Stoops has been fired at Kentucky after 13 years, so they're going to make a move there. He's owed $37 million in his buyout. Fantastic for him. Good work if you can get it. Okay, so I want to go to the ice now. And a couple of things I saw over the weekend that caught my attention. First one here is Kyle Palmieri of the New York Islanders. And this dude is a hockey guy through and through.
Line. Drysdale back after it. Palmieri trying to track it down. Big collision. They both go falling. Palmieri's hurt. That didn't look good. Palmieri is in a ton of pain back behind the play.
They're going to have to blow it down here. Moving a little better his palms.
Just goes stripping away there. Sets up Drouin. Heineman scores! How about that? An assist for Kyle Palmieri as he goes off the ice and down the tunnel. Meanwhile, Emil Heineman celebrates his 10th goal of the season.
Kyle Palmieri tore his ACL on that collision down in the corner. Tries to get himself up, trying to just shake it off and skate off, head towards the bench with a torn ACL. And the unsuspecting defenseman for the Philadelphia Flyers just gets his pocket picked by him, just passes it off to a teammate as he's skating towards the bench, and they just turn it into a goal, a breakaway goal. And he gets an assist on a torn ACL. And now Palmieri's out for the next 6 to 8 months, but what a way to go out. That was incredible.
Yeah. No, I'm seeing it here now. I've watched it over a couple of times. It's incredibly impressive. It's not necessarily even. I think it clears. Like Kobe tore his Achilles, went to the free throw line, made the free throw shots, and then was done. Like this is even more impressive because this guy's still moving right on the destroyed knee. So incredible. Credit to him. They say hockey guys are tough. This is just another testament to that.
Yeah, just incredible. And hockey women are tough, too. And the Wisconsin women's hockey team, they played the Smashville Showcase this weekend in the championship game against Stonehill on Sunday. And, well...
Centering pass, they score. Yeah. Kirsten rips a shot. Tipped in front by Eden, they score. Drops it off for Enright, score.
Wow.
Claire Enright. For Lacey Eden, the centering pass.
Wow.
And they score. The wraparound. Still in.
Oh, man.
Save made. Did it go in?
A goal.
It did.
I think a goal on a rebound.
Here comes Sims, who scores.
Oh, my goodness.
Hall now creates some space. Here comes Hall, centering pass. They score.
Man.
Here comes Hall. She scores.
Wow.
Centering pass. Zillish for the hat trick. She got it. Potter driving to the net on the backhand. They score.
Oh, my goodness.
Rebound still loose. Can they whack it in?
It's
they can.
In. Yeah.
And it's goal number 15 for Wisconsin. Behind the net is Scannell. Centering pass to Hall, who scores. Scannell shoots, and she scores.
Yeah.
And it's record-breaking.
Oh, wow.
17 goals in the game. It's the most in a single game in Wisconsin women's hockey history.
Aiden Michaels and Mike Greenhall on the call there. 17 goals, Nick. 17 goals in one game against poor Stonehill College.
Sign me up to be Greeny moving forward.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Oh,
hey.
What a goal. Hey.
Oh, I think he scored. Oh, I think she scored. Oh,
my God.
You got to feel, Paul Brown, he misses one opportunity there to be on the call for a historic moment, but Aiden Michaels, hell of a job. That team, a hell of a job.
Yeah. Number one team in the country for a reason. My goodness.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented program.
Yeah. Poor Stonehill. They changed their goalies after goal number 13. About
damn time.
Like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, that team is just insane.
Oh, she's blindfolded. Oh, and she scores. She's bouncing on one leg. Dude, Front flip. Go.
Honestly, they could. They really could.
They're Harlem
They were just giving it
Globetrotter
to
out
them.
there.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my goodness. 17-2 over Stonehill down in Nashville at the Smashville Showcase. So yeah, congrats to the Wisconsin women's hockey program. Just incredible of a win. And that team, oh man, Mark Johnson. That group is insane.
They are incredible. We're blessed to have such prolific women's athletic programs here and men's teams as well. I mean, this is one of those schools that you're always blessed if you're a sports fan, because somebody is going to be elite. And right now it feels like there's a handful of potential elite programs.
Oh yeah. And Wisconsin women's basketball lost by 19 to James Madison on Saturday.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. And then
so
I
they're
think
not quite there yet, but
they won the consolation game maybe. Or did they lose back-to-back in the tournament? I know Reed Magnum down there on the call. John Hottie is busy with volleyball.
Yeah, I know they lost Saturday, so whichever one that was in the
yeah, that's probably game 2. They lost both of them down there then. I think. I'll double check, because why don't we be accurate on this? But I think they beat Detroit Mercy last week as well. So something to be said, though, that they're not terrible, right? I mean, they're a good program, at least to this point in the season. Not something you can typically rely upon with the Wisconsin women's basketball team. But they did fall to Ole Miss on Friday, 65-56, before losing to James Madison 69-50. And poor Reed Magnum down in Daytona Beach.
He's really going through it down there, isn't he?
Sent to, just
poor guy.
Stuck in the gulag down.
Yeah, getting sent to the worst places of all. Yeah.
No, he's doing all right. I'm sure he's all right. But it was a very, very busy sports weekend. Across the board. It's what makes Thanksgiving so special for me. Gives you that immediate, I know what I'm doing today, right? If you're stuck with family, don't know what you're going to do, then it devolves into politics or into different things that nobody wants to talk about because it turns sour quickly. But things that turn sour quickly, shoveling. I mean,
oh no.
We had 9+ inches in Ripon, and my mom doesn't own a snowblower, which is fine. She probably didn't trust she didn't trust us as kids to use the snowblower. She didn't necessarily trust herself to use the snowblower. So we were always a shovel family. We always had 2, 3, 4, 5 shovels because mom and 4 kids. And we'd go to town. We get it done quickly. And since my childhood, we have added an additional driveway, and it's substantially larger than our current driveway. So we have 2. Never got rid of the original. Yeah. And now we have a second drive. It's a lot of snow. So me and my brother, just the 2 of us, because we have 2 shovels today in this day and age. We did the driveway midday on Saturday, and then Saturday night, and then yesterday morning. And each time was about an hour for all the shoveling that was required. And I just look at this weekend and I see free labor across the board for families across the country, especially when it comes to this. So if I wasn't there, mom would have just had someone she hired to come and do it. And instead, we got free labor out of it. And I'm sure a lot of people's lower backs are going through it today.
Yeah, great timing there with having the young kids at home to be able to do the shoveling.
Right.
Is your low back feeling all right?
I'm okay, but
You're
my
okay.
brother Kyle, who's 10 years older than me, is in much worse shape.
Oh, yeah. He's on the wrong side of 30. Yeah.
He's rounded that corner.
Yeah. You're going to feel it in the low back at 35 there. But yeah. So, oh, man, you guys are a shovel family. For me, we were a snowblower family. And then, the snowblower after like 30 years kind of went kaput. But instead, my dad has a tractor with like a bucket in front, so he just kind of uses that to just kind of push the snow out to the side.
Genius.
So and and he loves that tractor, so he's like the only one that's like allowed to be on it. So it's like, okay, you have yourself some fun there, going around scooping the snow out, getting it out of the driveway. Works pretty efficiently. I mean, he's able to get the driveway done in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. Just kind of pushing out to the side. My job was just kind of like shoveling off like the porch steps and everything to get that open, and then moving my car out of the way so that could move that part of the driveway and clear that out. So I had it fairly easy there. I didn't have to do that, but I'm wondering, are y'all snowblower families? Are you shovel families? 877-794-1973 because I mean, really, we all had to go through it some form or another around here because pretty much the entire state got some high level of snow here this weekend.
Yeah, it was record breaking, at least in Madison. They said it was the most ever for a November 30th snowfall in their recorded history. So it's definitely possible that at some point in the past it had happened before. But since they started recording it, this was the most snow they had gotten in Madison, and winter's here. I mean, we went to Christmas last year, I believe, without any snow. This is going to stick
Just
around
about.
now. It's a lot of snow. It's not going to get warm enough for it all to melt. And we're looking at road conditions, specifically here in Madison. Dave, you know.
They're bad?
It's not always the greatest. Not always the greatest.
Did they,
and it's my
please tell me they
girlfriend's
didn't wait until Sunday morning to send the plows out.
I wasn't here.
Okay.
Abby said they were terrible. The roads were terrible.
Okay, because they
that
usually
didn't look like they were plowed.
Yeah, because so many times it feels like out there in Madison, they're like, we're going to wait until the snow stops to plow. It's like, you realize it's like a 24-hour snowstorm. That's a long time to go without plowing the roads, without clearing some of it out, because people are still going to be driving over it. It's going to make it that much harder to actually get rid of. And then when it gets freezing cold, guess what? That snow is going to turn to ice, and it's going to make it that much more impossible to get rid of. And then you don't put salt down on the roads because you're like, oh, well, salt's a problem. We can't overdo that. And and then it's just worse. And then it's just so bad for so long. And it makes no sense. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that the roads are terrible out there because for whatever reason, they never plow the roads. It's like you have plows. This is Wisconsin. Snow has happened before. We should be prepared for this, but.
Well,
I don't know.
What it's worth, I was not here. And my girlfriend was all alone here and driving in the snow-covered roads and figuring out her path forward. By the time I got here yesterday, it was pretty good. So I lucked out in that regard. Did not luck out, though, being home this weekend. I'm always willing to help. I'm obviously going to be helping my mom no matter what. It's just difficult timing where I'm there.
Son.
I know, I'm a good sport about it. She starts going out there and, I jump to my feet. Like I wake up, it's like I hear shovel noises at 7 a.m. I'm like, she's out there, isn't she? She's doing it all alone. You know what I mean? So I'm like we get my brother up and I'm like, get on my clothes, throw on some clothes, get out there quickly, take the shovel from her. I'm doing it. You go inside. And I'm like, you wearing a coat? And she's like, I don't know. Well, you got to wear a coat, Mom, if you're going to be outside. It's cold.
See, that's the difference with my mom. She will always be wearing a coat no matter what. Even if it's 60 degrees out, she's like, I'm putting a coat on. So yeah. she's gonna be layered up if she's out there. But yeah, it's a lot of why don't you go out there and help your dad? Oh, okay, cool. I'll go and do that. But yeah, it was. We
got a couple people weighing in here. Ted in the 920 grew up a shovel kid. I have a snowblower now. I'm never going back. I anticipate that will be the path of my life. I'm an apartment guy right now, so I have no responsibility at all for shoveling. Fortunate enough, underground parking for my car, so I don't even have to hopefully brush that off too much. And the price is all right, not too shabby. Mario, snowblower, driveway is 75 yards long.
Oh, goodness.
Well, that's a lot. Husband had total knee 3 weeks ago. Took me an hour and a half for driveway, patio, and front walk. Go me.
Hey,
way to be
Mario.
persistent. Way to be persistent. I've seen people in the past, not often, but my mom on occasion. I'm just going to drive over it a bunch. Pack that thing down. Oh.
Yeah, that's a tough one to do, especially when it remains cold for a while afterwards. But yeah, 75 yards, that's way too long to shovel.
That's the practice field length here at Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly.
80 yards to be exact.
Distance. Yeah.
Rand Corp, snowblow that blank. You always can find a cheap one on, I don't know, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. How about that? I deciphered it quickly.
There you go.
Making
well done.
clearing snow kind of fun. Yeah, I'm sure it's fun to watch it. Will UW full? This is completely different. Let's not to get too personal, but I'm going through a divorce and I basically let my wife keep everything except the snowblower. Jeremy and Oshkosh.
Oh, poor Jeremy. So it's all right, brother.
Yeah, it's I mean, you gotta keep your snowblower if you like it. I've never been in a position to use one.
Can't let her take that from you.
I think my mom always had the belief that one of us would get like sucked into it, so she never allowed us to use one and have one. So I don't know. At this point, I would have liked to have had one this weekend, but of course I'm willing to help when I'm home. But it did make me feel great about being an apartment person and not a homeowner at this point in my life.
Oh yeah, because that's going to be then that's entirely on you to get that out there. And plus, if you got a sidewalk in front, you can't forget to shovel the sidewalk.
Apologies, Marlo, not Mario. Apologies.
Yeah.
I read it quickly. I'm at a distance from the computer where the graphic is not perfect.
Maybe you need to get your prescription on your glasses.
Yeah, maybe I actually do need a prescription on my glasses. That's a whole different story. These aren't even like prescription glasses. These are prism glasses. My eyes have a problem focusing in at the same time. It's not necessarily that I can't see. It's just that my eyes will not focus at a point directly in front of me. Oily Phil here. I'm a snowblower, man, even though I did shovel twice on Saturday, but snowblowed on Sunday. My question for you is, what are your thoughts on roof raking?
Ooh.
I have gone up on the roof before because my mom was concerned about the amount of snow up on the roof. I think that if you're a homeowner and you are concerned about the weight on your roof, I got no problem with roof raking. It's a pain. I used to shovel. And there was a nice thick layer of ice underneath. So a couple of times I fell to my rear end and slid to the edge and caught myself on the gutter. I could have potentially fallen off the roof, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, minor detail, just falling off a roof.
If you can take these mundane tasks, these chores, and make them more of an extreme sport, I'm all in. So when it's downpouring and going crazy, and my mom's like, oh my God, the gutters, they're overflowing. That's when I'm all fired up to jump into action, climb up on the ladder, and get ready to go and clean the gutters.
That's when you're in a driving rainstorm is when you're most excited to.
Lightning storm on a big metal ladder. You know what I mean? That raises the stakes. That's what I'm all down for. I mean, I'll do it whenever she asks me.
Something, but
she just put the rain guard or whatever over the top of the gutter, so I'll never have to clean them again, hopefully.
There you go.
That was one of my extreme sports. Those are the chores I like. You asked me to clean the window wells? No, thanks. You want me to go up on the roof and clean the gutters? I'm down.
There you go. Yeah, gotta brush the snow off. Yeah, I mean, if the snow's if it's over the edge and it's clearly drifting, and it's way too much in one spot, then maybe it's okay. But other than that, for the most part, we just kind of let our roof be, and don't worry about it too much, and just kind of see it all melt down. But yeah, you got to make it an extreme. So how are you going to make shoveling an extreme sport? You've got to find some way, I'm sure, by now.
Yeah, I was getting a running start, and I would get a running start, and I would push the shovel straight forward as fast as I could.
And then as soon as the shovel hits something or snags on something, you just topple over it.
You flip clean over it. I did not spill at all. I did not fall at any point.
I break a wrist.
I did one of those cartoonish running in place while you slip type situations, but I caught myself. But yeah, I mean, I always find ways to make it, at least fun in some regard. But it's hard sometimes. I mean, if it was bitterly cold this weekend, it would have been hell. And so I guess I can be grateful for the fact that the whipping winds only made it feel like 15 instead of sub-zero.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't too bad weather-wise, but yeah, it was good. It was wet snow as well, wet packing snow, very heavy, which just kind of adds to it. Adds to the low back problems as well.
That is right.
Yeah, be sure to rest your low back today if you were shoveling this past weekend, because you know what, you've earned it. Okay?
You're seen here on D.N.D. We see you, we understand you, and we feel you. Sean in Sullytown says, just explained one of the reasons you're divorced. I don't know. Damn. Jeremy catches a stray from another listener, but we're here to be the median between our listeners. But Nick Osen, he was in Minneapolis for this weekend's matchup, a snow game there as well. A lot of shoveling taking place on the field throughout the contest. He's not up next, but he's after that, so stay tuned. We'll dig in a little bit more on the Badgers, reflect on the season that was for the football team, and touch on the Badgers men's basketball team as well. They'll begin their Big Ten regular season schedule on Wednesday night at home against Northwestern. So stay tuned. You got any more shovel conversation to weigh in? Roof raking? I did not know until 30 seconds ago that is an actual tool, a roof rake.
Yeah.
I thought you literally were saying going up there and using a rake on your roof. So stay tuned for more blunders. Maybe the metal lands will come up again. I don't know. I don't know things. I learn things on the fly. You're listening to D.N.D. here on The Game.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
Want to watch D.N.D? They're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X right now.
There you go.
There we go.
Just search 97.3 The Game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1974.
All the land on the run.
In January of 1974, the top-selling album of the year is released, Paul McCartney and Wings' Band on the Run. Bob Dylan, backed by the band, has his first #1 album with Planet Waves. In February, Jersey City's Kool and the Gang have a top 5 hit with Jungle Boogie. New York City's Kiss released their debut, which sells 75,000 copies without a hit single. In March of 74, Canadian band Rush released their debut album, Get a New Drummer, and go on their first U.S. tour. David Essex has the first of many top 10 hits in the UK and his only U.S. hit with the single Rock On, which goes to number 5. And Steely Dan hit the top 5 with the single Ricky Don't Lose That Number and have a top 10 album too with Pretzel Logic.
Ricky, don't lose that number. It's the only one you want. You might use it if you feel better when you get home.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1974. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1968.
Born to be wild.
In January of 1968, Steppenwolf released their debut album, including the single Born to be Wild, which charts at number 2 in the U.S. Johnny Cash records 2 live shows at California's Folsom Prison, along with June Carter and Carl Perkins. Also in January, the Beatles are number 1 with Hello Goodbye. In London, they launched their own company, Apple Corps, with a store, a recording studio, and record label. February of 68, Pink Floyd lead singer Syd Barrett is checked into a psychiatric hospital and the band replaces him with David Gilmour. The Beatles, Donovan, Mia Farrow, and others travel to India to study transcendental meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And Bill Graham opens the Fillmore East concert venue in an abandoned New York City theater. April of 1968, the musical Hair opens on Broadway for the first of 1,750 performances. It would spawn several top 40 hits, including Aquarius, Good Morning Starshine, and Hair. Simon and Garfunkel released their album Bookends, which goes to number 1 in the US and the UK. The single Mrs. Robinson would go to number 1 in June, thanks to the movie The Graduate.
God bless you, please, Mrs. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who pray. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1968. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1975.
In September, the Isley Brothers have a number 1 album, The Heat Is On, driven by the number 4 single, Fight the Power. Alive is a 2-record live album that goes to number 9 for Kiss. They released the single Rock and Roll All Night, which goes to number 12. David Bowie switches to Philly Soul on the LP Young Americans, featuring the number 1 single Fame, which was co-written by John Lennon. UK rock band Foghat have a top 20 hit with Slow Ride from the album Fool for the City. In October of 75, Pink Floyd released their follow-up to Dark Side of the Moon. Wish You Were Here goes to number 1 in the US and the UK.
What have we found? Same old fears. Wish you were here.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1975. Coming up.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Rick Springfield to get some insight on his latest release, Rocket Science.
It's a guitar-based record for sure, and I love big hooks, and it's not a country record at all. It's a rock and roll record, but it does have some country elements.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from Rick Springfield and all your favorite artists.
Parrott strikes on Gibson, scored! The Milwaukee Admirals are back home on Wednesday night when they host the Iowa Wild at Panther Arena. Through the crease to the bottom of the far circle, scored! Ryan Ufko! Pre-game coverage at 6:30, face-off at 7 on Fox Sports 920 and the iHeartRadio app.
Yo, Pan, you ready? Yeah. Man, let's lock and load. Yeah. Just play. Yeah. No, turn me up. Hey. I think we got one. Yeah. Here we go. Tell me what do you
Back here on the game, you've got D.N.D. with me, Nick Kruswitz, and Dave Gasper. We've crossed the halfway point. We've touched on a lot of pretty substantial subjects, and then some as mundane as shoveling. But that's what we're here for. We're here to represent.
Yeah.
We're here to represent what people are thinking and feeling. And over the last, decade, I think the feeling around Black Friday has changed drastically. I think it used to be lines outside of every substantial mall, store, place, and a rush of adrenaline and literal rush of human bodies into a building. And it was dangerous, but that was part of it. As I just said, I make shopping an extreme sport. Black Friday was that extreme sport. Now Black Friday is a week long. It's all online as well. Cyber Monday. Today's technically Cyber Monday. Who even cares anymore? I mean, most people are buying their stuff online anyway for Black Friday. But I did want to touch on it because I thought it was pertinent to where we're at right now in the world and what we're doing. And I'm sure some folks out there have some things that they purchased this year that they're really fired up that they got at a discount rate. I'd love to hear about it. I'm probably not going to partake at all because I'm territorial with my cash. Like I've stated before, I don't like spending money on anything. Very frugal.
Well, most of us are. Yeah.
No, and it's a trait that I think most should possess, right? I mean, protect what you got. You earned it.
Yeah. Our money.
But I do think that there's a greater conversation to be had about sports. And I know we got Nick Osen on the other side. So, I mean, if you're looking at an NFL team right now, Dave, that you'd look to see their record and essentially buy on a discount that they're going to be better than it is and push forward as a more competitive team, does someone stick out to you?
I think the one that sticks out to me right now in terms of better than their record is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they're sitting here at 6-6 at this point, and they're currently third in that AFC West. But if they can find a way to at least get themselves a wild card spot, get themselves into the postseason, I think they're just going to be just as dangerous as ever. I mean, they've got all the experience, they've got all the talent over there on that team to be able to make some kind of run. So the Chiefs are the team that I don't know if anyone's really kind of sold off their stock because they've been so good for the last couple of years. But I mean, the Chiefs stock is down a little bit right now, just with how poorly they played this year. I mean, they're sitting there at 6-6. They're 1-5 on the road this season. So I think it's got to be the Chiefs. I think they're much better than their record says they are. If they can get into the dance, they're going to be just as dangerous. They're going to be more dangerous than any other 6 or 7 seed, whatever wild card you can think of.
No doubt about it. And I think that is a team that, right now, I think most are kind of flabbergasted are as bad as they are. You don't look at the Chiefs and think 6-6 even on the table. 6 losses in general. Yeah, probably not on the table for this group. They keep finding ways to lose close games. They won every one last year that was close. They lose every game that's close this year. But you definitely got to look at them and say, everybody in the AFC in the playoff picture is praying that they don't make the postseason. And that tells you what they think of that team. On the other side, just quickly before we get to Nick Osen, I think the Dallas Cowboys might be that team in the NFC. I don't know if they have enough time to pull it off. They're 6-5-1 now. They lost some games early in the season that are going to hurt them. We all are familiar with the tie with the Packers, 40-40. I mean, their offense has been elite all season long. Their defense has been terrible, and now it's not that bad. They made some changes. They brought in some guys, Quinnen Williams, and the defensive line is not too shabby. I mean, they've held down some pretty good teams. They gave up 21 points to the Eagles in the first half and then didn't give up another point the rest of the game. And then they held down Mahomes well enough this past weekend to get a W. And Ted in the 920. He's going to try and find a deal on a new snowblower. How about that for Black Friday? Can we get a Black Friday deal on a healthy offensive lineman? Yeah, let's hope. Yeah. I think the Badgers had great health on the offensive line the first 2 years with Fickle. This year was the opposite.
Yeah. Badgers or Packers. It could be either one.
Well, that's a great point. I took it to Badgers, excuse me. Packers is probably more important.
Yeah, Aaron Banks, Elton still Jenkins. Going. Yeah. No, absolutely. In general, you want healthy offensive linemen. So yeah, you need to get a Black Friday deal on that. But yeah, I think Badgers, especially because you got NIL, you got transfer portal, all those guys trying to move around. But either way, yeah, they need healthy offensive linemen to help with the running game, help everything, because we got Billy Schmidt on this station, and he is as big of an offensive line supporter as anyone. So. Right. It's important to have those guys and have them healthy up front.
Well, if we're talking about great deals, I think we struck gold with Nick Osen because he's always willing to hop on and talk with us about all things Badgers. He's a Bears fan. Maybe we'll touch on that as well. But Nick Osen of Badger 247, a 24/7 sports entity, will join us as he often does here on the other side. Put a bow on the Badgers football season. Get you set for Big Ten men's basketball action come Wednesday and anything under the sun, honestly, because he's a sports fanatic just like all of us. So stay tuned. Nick Osen on the other side. You've got D.N.D. here on the game.
Fortunate fate, money make all of the change. The new Benz is all white, call it John McCain. How the hell did you stop me?
You are listening to D.N.D. with Doug, Nick, and Dave.
This pains me to say this, but Dave's right.
Hey, why does that pain you to say? I'm right quite a bit, I think.
Middays here on the game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1969.
Full-budget film Easy Rider captures the public imagination with a soundtrack by Steppenwolf, the Byrds, and the Electric Prunes. The Woodstock Music and Art Fair is held August 15th through 18th on Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel. 32 of the biggest bands of the day played to a crowd estimated at 500,000. The event is later released as a movie and album. And with the boost from their appearance at Woodstock, San Francisco band Santana hits the top 10 with their debut album, Evil Ways. The festival undoubtedly immortalized Jimi Hendrix and ushered in the era of large rock concerts and arena rock bands. Also in October, Led Zeppelin have their only U.S. top 10 hit when Whole Lotta Love reaches number 4.
I'm gonna give you my love. I'm gonna give you my love. Oh, whole lot of love.
The Allman Brothers Band released their debut album on Capricorn Records to good reviews but limited sales. And 7 years after his last number one, Elvis Presley tops the charts with Suspicious Minds.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1969. Coming up.
iHeartRadio. Here are the top Blondie songs that you've thumbed up. Number 3, One Way or Another.
One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you one day. Maybe next week, I'm gonna meet you. I'll meet you.
Number 2, Heart of Glass.
In between, what I find is pleasing and I feel fine. Love is so confusing, there's no peace of mind. If I fear I'm losing you, it's just no good. You're cheesing like this.
Number 1, Call Me.
Emotions come, I don't know why. Struggle of love's alibi. Call me on the line. Call me anytime. Call me
Hear more from Blondie and similar artists now.
Search for Blondie on iHeartRadio.
All your favorite music,
All your favorite stations.
all free.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1970.
Don't keep me waiting here. Lead me to
The Beatles released the Phil Spector-produced album Let It Be. It generates 3 number-1 hits, Get Back, Let It Be, and their final number 1, The Long and Winding Road. The Kinks song Lola, about a romantic encounter with a transvestite, makes number 2 UK and number 9 US. In July, the Stooges released their second album on Elektra Records, Fun House, and British band Mungo Jerry are number 1 in the UK, number 3 in the US with the single In the Summertime.
have a drink, have a drive. Go out and see what you can find.
In August, Eric Clapton releases his first solo album and scores a top 20 hit with his cover of J.J. Cale's After Midnight. Neil Diamond scores his first number 1 with Cracklin' Rosie. September of 1970, Neil Young has a top 10 album with After the Gold Rush. War, an anti-war protest song by Edwin Starr, tops the charts.
What is it good for? You tell me. Say it.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1970. Coming up. iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Elton John to talk about the power of a song.
Take someone somewhere else. God knows I've been taken so many places by other writers, other performers. That is the power of the song and the power of the performer. Without music, my life would have been, it's been a constant, whether I've, from 3 years old when I started to play, it's been a constant, whether I've been happy, sad, breaking records, being at my lowest ebb ever, I've always had music with me. And it's always got me through the good and the bad.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Elton John and all your favorite artists.
Back here on the game, you've got D.N.D, Dave Gasper, and me, Nick Fruzewitz, as we head for hour number 4. But before the conclusion of hour number 3, we get to talk to a familiar favorite, one of our favorites, human beings in general, Nick Osen of Badger 247, hopping on to put a bow on what was the 2025 Badgers football season. 4-8. Nick, you were there. They lose 17-7. It was a snow globe game. What was your greatest takeaway from the effort you saw from this group, maybe 1 year over the next from what you saw in the finale against Minnesota last season?
Yeah, guys, always a pleasure to be speaking with you. Nick, I thought that this was the game going in that the Badgers had a really good shot at. And so in terms of looking, kind of toward last year and then this game's performance, I thought that the effort was certainly there. And then frankly, I thought that the defense, for the most part, played another really good game. I think that you saw a pretty consistent growth from that group the last few weeks. I think that obviously there could have been better execution. I can think of 3 key plays overall, probably one on defense and certainly a couple on offense. Obviously, it was one that a lot of Badger fans were hoping for, but now, it doesn't really kind of reshape a lot of how the season was thought of, right? They didn't reach kind of what they'd hoped. Thought the effort was there. It's a rivalry game, tough conditions, really to execute some of what was hoped for. And now, as I'm sure we'll get into, a huge offseason lies ahead, both in the short term for some high school recruiting, as well as long term adding some portal pieces as well, guys.
Yeah, what do you think, Nick, is going to be the top item on the to-do list for Luke Fickell during this offseason?
Yeah, I'm going to give you 2 if that's okay, Dave.
That's fine. Yeah, there's a lot on the to-do list, I'm sure, Nick.
And even he would say that. He made a joke about it really the last couple of weeks. But Fickell would say that, the staff would. Look, I think it's going to be really important to retain. A lot of people are talking about how, it's such a huge 2026, and that is true. But I don't believe that you can just flip a team and kind of find a lot of success by just grabbing portal guys. I do think there's a lot of good young talent within this program that's going to be important to keep around. And I've felt pretty good about most of those guys, most of those names. So that's number 1, Dave. And number two, I think obviously figuring out kind of a consistent, successful plan at a couple premium positions. I think obviously quarterback is one. I think that Carter Smith showed some really good things, and I'm somebody that believes he can indeed be the guy in the future for this program. But remember, he still has 4 years of eligibility, right? Because he didn't have to burn his red shirt. So I expect obviously some activity with bringing in, I'll say safely, some competition, but more than likely somebody that's been around, found success at the quarterback position, because as we know, it's a huge year. And then everything else is just kind of built around that, Dave. I mean, obviously, probably going to look for wide receiver, maybe some depth at O-line, safety, like other spots that happen. But I think Fickell would tell you himself that quarterback spot been a tough go these last few years, and that's not really just the player's fault or staff's fault. There have been a lot of injuries, but going forward, that it just can't happen. So if a body does go down, you need to have somebody kind of coming in right after that you trust to be able to play really well.
Yeah, Nick, I think it's an interesting point to be made. Tom Oates made it on our Game Radio Network with Drew and KB a couple of weeks ago, highlighted all the quarterbacks that have been here in the time of Luke Fickell and his staff, and how literally not one of them is going to be remembered fondly, right? And so you're hoping Carter Smith might be that guy. It's not a negative. They're not going to be remembered poorly. It's just that their impact was minimal at most. So as we look to what this week is, guys are going to be signing. And I think a lot of people are still on the edge of their seat, crossing their fingers and hoping that they can get to the finish line with some of the players that we have heard from and certainly have made verbal commitments. As it stands with Amari Latimer, I think that's the biggest fish that we're looking to reel in. Where's your gut at with that? Because I think your gut was a no on Jaden Petit, and you were right on that one.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Nick. With Amari, like I've learned in this day and age, never to really speak in absolutes, just because this era, things can change so quickly. But I mean, I've been checking in, whether it's with folks around the program or, people in Amari's family, just connections that I've made. And I feel good as we sit here at 12:45 on Monday, 2 days away. I feel really good. Miami is a team that is pushing really hard. Obviously, there are some long-term family ties there, and they're very competitive with NIL. But I think that the Badgers are certainly working to do whatever it takes, and I think that I would be shocked. Yeah, pretty shocked at this point, based on recent conversations, if he did not end up here. So that would be a very late switch. I will mention, Nick, another name that really the only one I'd say that's in the class right now that I'm watching in that sense is tight end / D lineman Jack Janda. Had a huge fall for a state champion up in Michigan, and I think things are looking more like D line for him in the future. Wisconsin still in a solid spot, but Iowa is also a school to really watch here as we get to that finish line.
Are you worried at all about LSU with their new head coach, Lane Kiffin, stealing any of these recruits with signing day coming up, Nick? Because this whole Lane Kiffin situation has just been incredible. We were talking about it earlier on the show here, but with a few days before National Signing Day, wanting to get over there quick. And a lot of people point to the schedule in college football here for, really kind of how terrible these decisions are, like having to get in at a new place pretty much by this week. And then you got the college football playoff and transfer portal and all that. What's your take on this whole, Lane Kiffin coaching carousel, trying to flip these guys here late? What's your take on that whole situation?
Yeah, Dave, it's been a huge topic. I'll go a couple ways with this. First and foremost, I've been kind of a Kiffin, guy from afar. Like I've liked kind of some of his success, and I liked how he had a little bit of a personality and wasn't, kind of afraid to show it in different ways. I'm not knocking somebody for choosing a program like LSU, but I think we could all agree there could have been a better way to handle all this. Really, regardless of the calendar, I understand that's not just his fault or his choosing, but just some of the comments and some of the reports about the last really couple of days in Oxford, a program that about 2 months ago he had an ESPN special that he spoke so highly of. I think that was unfortunate, but in terms of the calendar, I do think that there are ways to make this much better. I'm not sure if it's anybody's fault though, because players need to be signed, and some want to enroll early. So that happens right after the holidays. And then I am a fan. I've spoken with Nick on a couple of our other shows as well, or pregame, that I agree with the portal being moved, but then it's also a question of that timing. And it's just, look, I'm not going to feel too bad, for some of the top powers involved just because of some of the great things that they do get. But I will say, for any single human being, it is tough to kind of balance everything. And that's why I get why Kiffin had to leave when he did, but just kind of some of the formalities and maybe extra verbiage, Dave, that he kind of threw out there maybe wasn't the most necessary.
Yeah, definitely not. Nick Osen of Badger 247 joining us here for a couple more minutes as we get set for the Big Ten men's basketball season to begin on Wednesday night. The Badgers will host the 5-2 Northwestern Wildcats. Badgers also 5-2. They go out to the West Coast, win one of three matchups. You were there for BYU. What does Coach Collins and Nick Martinelli's squad pose to this Badgers team at home come Wednesday night?
Yeah, Nick, it's crazy. We're already getting into Big Ten hoops, and they've got really a couple of decent wins so far, does Northwestern. I believe it was a true road game, obviously not super far away, but taking on a DePaul under Chris Holtman that's been a little bit better. They beat South Carolina recently. That's solid program. Tough last year, but solid under Lamont Paris. But I just think the biggest thing is they always kind of take pride in their defense. And then Martinelli, obviously one of the best scorers in the entire country. I mean, you think of a lot of these recent matchups, they're generally played pretty close. I think that they are two coaches with a ton of respect for each other. And we'll actually be speaking with Coach Gard and a couple players later today, Monday night, to get an even better idea. But if you're asking kind of what I think, Nick, I think that just really, really important for Wisconsin to take care of business in that game. Marquette coming up this weekend. Nebraska is going to be a true road game. They've obviously gotten off to a great start this year, but just because the Badgers weren't able to knock off a BYU or obviously, kind of wrap things up with TCU, it's important to not take any bad losses as we fully get into Big Ten play in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Nick, just kind of one last one to circle back to football, if I could here. We were talking earlier about the grades for this year's team and how they did. I went with a C. I wanted to look on the positive side of things. Nick went with a D. How would you grade this Badgers football team this season?
Man, it's tough. I wouldn't go as far as a D as our man Bruce, just factoring in, some of the injuries and things. I'll split it up this way. I think that the defense could be a kind of a B,
right.
B plus, but offense obviously left, a lot to be desired, and they would certainly tell you that themselves. So they'd probably be a, C minus. You put the injuries into account, but still they were just not able to find a lot of traction and success late. That's obviously going to be a huge focus, and that's why I think things will be better. But if you want to kind of split those up, Dave, that'd probably end up, like a C as a whole, just because they know that this group expected to get a lot more than 4 wins.
And I, in regards to my score, a D, and then I posed that they should maybe be graded on a curve. So maybe that D becomes a C after it's graded with the curve of knowing you had 4 quarterbacks start multiple games. I don't know any other program that did that this season. So we love talking to Nick Osen, and you can find his great work on Badger 247, also on X at The Real Nick Osen. That's The Real NICKOSEN. Stay warm, dude. The winter is here. Your Bears might be good, but we can cross that bridge next week if they're still rolling.
Bruce, you bet. If I can just throw out Cyber Monday, best deal of the year on 247, 75% off for a full year, guys.
Oh, check it out. Badger 247. Find his work there. And on the other side, we got Billy Edwards Jr. Probably our last conversation with him. We'll dig into what he thought of this season, because it was quite the roller coaster ride of emotions for him at Wisconsin. Up next, Billy Edwards Jr. here on The Game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight from 1977.
In February of 77, 60s band leader Manfred Mann has a new band and scores a U.S. #1 hit with a cover of Bruce Springsteen's song Blinded by the Light. In March, Foreigner released their debut album. It goes to #4 in the U.S., driven by 2 top 10 singles, Cold as Ice and Feels Like the First Time. Philadelphia Blue-Eyed Soul duo Hall & Oates have their first U.S. #1 with Rich Girl from their 5th album, Bigger Than the Both of Us. Fleetwood Mac's album Rumors is released. It's their second #1 album in a row in the U.S., dominating the charts at #1 for 31 weeks. It spawns 4 top 10 singles, including the #1 Dreams.
When the rain washes you clean, you know.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1977. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight from 1977.
September of 77, American duo Steely Dan released their 6th album, Asia. It goes to #3 in the States on the strength of 2 top 20 hits, Peg and Deacon Blues. In October, the major label debut album by Meatloaf is released. It's #14 in the U.S. and goes on to be one of the best-selling albums of all time. Leonard Skinner released the album Street Survivor. 3 days later, singer Ronnie Van Zant and 2 other band members are killed in a plane crash. The album goes to #5 in the States, and the single What's Your Name hits #13.
What's your name, little girl? What's your name?
In November, Eric Clapton's Slow Hand is released. It goes to #2, driven by 3 hit singles, Cocaine, Wonderful Tonight, and Lay Down Sally.
Lay down, Sally. I'm resting in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to?
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1977. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1978.
In January of 1978, the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack is released, featuring the music of the Bee Gees. It hits #1 in the U.S. for more than 6 months. An amazing 18 weeks at #1 in the UK, it becomes the best-selling soundtrack album of all time. In February of 78, Pasadena, California hard rock band Van Halen released their self-titled debut album. It hits #19 on the charts. Their cover of The Kinks' You Really Got Me cracks the top 40 at #36. In March, the Patti Smith Group released their 3rd album, Easter. It goes to #20. Their single, Because the Night, goes to #13. It was co-written with Bruce Springsteen. In May of 78, Detroit rock singer Bob Seger releases his 10th album, Stranger in Town. It goes to #4 in the U.S., yielding 3 top 20 singles, including Still the Same, which also goes to #4.
Are you still the same?
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1978. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1972.
We were singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove a Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, and singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die.
1972, Don McLean goes to #1 with the single and album American Pie. Paul Simon's solo debut gives him a top 10 hit, Mother and Child Reunion. Fast forward to March, where Neil Young has a #1 album and a #1 single with Heart of Gold. And Deep Purple released their quintessential album Machine Head, which goes to #1 in the UK, #7 in the US, and features the classic hit Smoke on the Water. Also in March, the band America releases their debut album. It goes to #1 and yields a #1 single with Horse with No Name.
See, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1972. Coming up.
What you waiting for? Let's go. Make sure to make us a preset on the iHeartRadio app so you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Wisconsin's home for sports and stuff. We are the Game.
Welcome back to D.N.D. here on The Game. Dave Gasper along with Nick Bruzewitz. Doug Russell is out today. He is enjoying his Thanksgiving weekend. Gets an extra day here because, a lot of us, we had to work on, Thanksgiving Day and, Friday as well.
That's right.
So getting the day off here today. So he'll be back with us tomorrow as we'll be having D.N.D. starting at 11. Tomorrow, because Carry the G Radio will be playing from 9 to 11 here on these airwaves with Aaron Nagler and Billy Schmid. Billy Schmid also back in the chair tomorrow after him and Armin were off today. So Tim Allen was hanging out with you in the morning along with Andrew Ludwig. So we are awaiting Billy Edwards Jr. to see if he's going to call in here. Perhaps his the season's done. He's done.
Peel back the curtain for our listeners. I mean, we do not know what deals are signed and when the deadline is for his agreement with iHeart to join us. So could be any moment. We may have had our last conversation with Billy Edwards, but I think that if we can look back at the season as we now reflect on it, I mean, these conversations, we kind of drew the short end of the stick, if we're being honest, right? And Billy feels it the same way. I would have loved, and he would have loved to be talking about him under center, winning a football game, coming on Mondays and telling us about it. And the reality was, first and foremost, he wasn't under center. The Badgers didn't win many games, and he's been injured. It's been a rough year physically for him. I'm sure emotionally a challenge as well, but he's always kept an upbeat attitude. So if we've had our final conversation with Billy Edwards, we thought we had one more this week. Appreciate him for his candor, his ability to still come on each week and give us answers we're asking questions for. And at the end of the day, I do not know if he'll be back this next season. It seems unlikely. So it's always going to be a what could have been, what would have been with his situation here at Wisconsin.
Yeah, and we found out last week when he was on that it was a grade 3 PCL strain. So he tore his PCL completely in his knee. And when they kind of told us like, okay, it's going to be maybe week to week that he could potentially come back, it was a lot more serious, it seemed, than initially feared. So he ends up not really getting back out there. Played for a series against Maryland, but really was not able to make it back. But yeah, appreciate him coming on every single week and talking to us. But yeah, it's not the way he wanted the season to go. It's not the way the Badgers wanted the season to go, which is why we've kind of been talking about, the grades here, what were kind of the expectations, and potentially grading them on a curve, because really the expectations, and then when you lose your starting quarterback on the third series of the first game of the season, it's going to throw everything out of whack, no matter what your expectations were, no matter how good the rest of the roster may have been. When you lose your starting quarterback in that first game, it makes it so hard to actually find that level of consistency and success. Because as you mentioned, Nick, 4 different starting quarterbacks starting multiple games this season, just incredible. The lack of consistency they were able to get, dealing with injuries, certainly, and poor performance from a lot of them.
Yeah, not to mention that of those games that were started, Billy Edwards was a start against Maryland, didn't finish the game. Danny against Washington didn't finish the game. Carter Smith had to come in and they won it. This past weekend, Carter didn't get hurt, but he didn't finish the game. Hunter Simmons did. Like, it's not just that they are rotating quarterbacks week to week. They've been forced to rotate quarterbacks in game on a few occasions already this year. And, well, not already, this year. I mean, the season's over now. So they were fighting an uphill battle. And I get that there is some negativity involved with me giving them a D on the year. But I think most would give them an F. And I think that I'm an optimist by even giving them a passing grade, because 4-8 is not a high bar to clear, and they couldn't do it. They had every opportunity to get to 5 wins this past weekend. Minnesota's a good team at home, but by all accounts, they're not a particularly talented group in 2025. And the Badgers had momentum and could not capitalize off of it.
Yeah, and you look back at Maryland too as a game that, they weren't really competitive in it, but that was the only conference win for Maryland this season. That was a game that, looking, at the start of the season, it's like they should have won, and instead they weren't close. So if they win that one, and then then you're at 5 wins heading into this game for the Axe against Minnesota, and you're like, okay, now we got a chance to really be bowl eligible here with just a win, and that could even change some things with that game, with how Wisconsin played. Bobby in Middleton, chimes in, worst season in 30 years, gets a C. Wish I'd had you grading my papers in college. Yeah, and I think that's a sentiment of a lot too. That's like, okay, look, this was the worst season in years. It should be an F. And I think for me, it might be a little bit of recency bias too, with the wins against Washington, the wins against Illinois at the end of the season. I think that just kind of brings a little bit of hope, brings a little bit of positivity. It's like, okay, maybe this wasn't so bad, because we really thought this was bad. I mean, we were bracing for 2-10 in terms of the season. Like that was our expectation just a couple of weeks ago for this team. So for them to end up at 4-8 when we were all basically bracing for 2-10, then we kind of are looking at, it's like, okay, that's maybe a C, a passing grade here for this group, because we were thinking 2-10 was going to be a legit reality for this.
And I think
team.
it would have been a fair expectation. I mean, I don't think that we were being pessimists. I think that it was just the reality of what we thought we were dealing with at quarterback. I mean, Carter Smith, he started the last couple of weeks here, right? He starts against Indiana, Illinois, and Minnesota, and they had to essentially dumb down the playbook because he hadn't had enough time. I mean, he hadn't matured into a collegiate quarterback quite yet. True freshmen don't necessarily play anywhere. Even the best recruits in the country, 5-star true freshmen, don't necessarily play a lick in their first year.
Yeah.
And so Carter had to go in.
Yeah.
And he was the highest paid recruit at the time ever. You know what I mean? Coming out of high school. So there is not as much resources placed on Carter Smith based off of his production as a high schooler. Great player, whether you look at him as a 4-star or a 3-star, there's always that verge of being considered one or the other, depending on your outlet. I mean, this is a guy that they had high expectations for the future. Maybe not even 2026, but 2027. And so we'll see what happens when this team comes together again in the spring, what that roster looks like. If he's a part of it, I would anticipate he is. I'm not placing any doubt out there. I'm not trying to, spread rumors or make people worry, but you never know. And if he's like, yeah, I think I can be a starter next year, knowing my experience that I've seen so far this year, I don't think the Badgers' plan is for him to be a starting quarterback in 2026. And I'm not sure it's their plan to have him be their backup. Like, I think that there is a belief in him long term, but I don't know at any point if they ever considered him, he's going to be our starter in 2025 for any action at all, which he was now. Essentially started 4 games, playing almost all of the Washington game, and then not playing the second half against Minnesota. Next year, you're going to look at another transfer quarterback, in my opinion, probably multiple coming in regardless of if they're starters or not, because you're seeing Billy exit, Hunter Simmons exits. Who knows if Danny plays next year? Like, they're going to need to reset that whole room potentially outside of Carter Smith once again. Ryan Hopkins, a high school recruit coming in. Like, they're not going to have anybody with a breadth of experience. Carter Smith could be their most experienced guy prior to adding in the portal. And that's saying a lot about where we're at right now with that room.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to bring someone in from the portal to just to fill out the room. Because, I mean, even with the 4 scholarship quarterbacks this year, I mean, they clearly did not have enough. They would have liked a 5th. They didn't have. I mean, they had complete turnover in their quarterback room from a year ago. I mean, the only guy who stayed was the walk-on Milos Spasojevic, and that's it. So they need to find that consistency. And perhaps, they didn't expect Carter Smith to be that guy this year. They were hoping they wouldn't have to. They were hoping it was going to be a full year of Billy Edwards Jr. And Danny O'Neal if you had to. But Carter Smith could then learn from those guys and watch those guys, and then maybe be ready as a redshirt freshman the next year, hopefully. But you also had Danny O'Neal in place where it's like, okay, he's been a starter at the D1 level. You could roll with him for a while if you need to. So, we'll see where they end up going. They're going to have to bring somebody in to help fill out the room. But I'd imagine their expectation is that Carter Smith is going to start going forward because he was that highly touted recruit coming in. And he was the one who helped them win their ball games here down the stretch. I mean, when they faced the ranked opponents, it was Carter Smith who was getting the job done and getting the offense moving. So, yes, it was a lot of just running the ball and him being a dual threat quarterback. And most of the threat was on the ground running the ball. It was not really him throwing the ball. But still, I think that's something that they're going to be able to work on. He's going to be able to improve. He's going to have to quicken up that decision-making next year as well, because we saw a couple of times during, especially the game against Minnesota, where it's like that throw is late. Like you got to get it out sooner. You got to make the decision to throw the ball sooner. And he'll find that eventually. I think they're going to work with him quite a bit on that this offseason because this is really his first full year where he's dedicated solely to football, because he was a baseball player. He was a pretty highly touted baseball recruit as well in high school. So now for him to be focusing full-time on football and school, of course, but to be focusing full-time on football, that should help him hopefully take a major step forward next year in terms of throwing the ball and being a threat that way, because if he can, then this offense may actually find something.
And I think that had Wisconsin been able to establish the run in this weekend's loss to Minnesota, Carter would have played the entire game. He protects the ball well, right?
Yeah.
He has been risk adverse because first and foremost, the playbook that they're using with him is putting him in a position where he's not putting the ball in arm's way. They cut out all
deep throws pretty much. Like they had like maybe one or two, but intermediate or deep throws, they just were not doing it. Unless it was some sort of like specially created trickery kind of thing to try and get things moving and loosen up that defense. But everything else, it was short passes. It was behind the line of scrimmage or it was within 5 yards of it. I mean, they kept it very tight. They kept him on a leash there a little bit, passing the ball.
And had they established the run, they would have probably lent towards that play style with a little bit more satisfaction in Saturday's matchup. But because they couldn't get the run, because they couldn't carve out any yards, they had to turn to maybe a more aggressive attack, certainly a more aggressive attack downfield with the passing ability of Hunter Simmons. And to Hunter's credit, I mean, when tasked with making an incredible pass in the first half to Vinny Anthony down the field, he did it. And he nailed him. I mean, that was a perfect ball in those conditions with that footing or lack thereof due to the snow. So I think you look at him and you say, if he could have just cut down on the turnovers Saturday, you probably win the game. That's the problem right here is you were looking at two quarterbacks that were on the opposite end of the spectrum, and you really needed someone in the middle, and they're hurt. I mean, Danny's hurt. And we don't even know what Danny's injury is. He got carted off. It could be a torn ACL. It could be a torn Achilles. We just know it's a lower leg injury that ended his season. And that's what makes me wonder if he's going to be able to play next year. Like if he tore his Achilles, let's just say, hypothetically, this is not by any means an admission of the actual injury. I have no clue. Just know it's substantial and it's lower body. Do you recover quickly? I mean, 6 to 8 months it's going to take to recover from that. He got hurt in November. You're talking about come back in June, July. And you're gearing up for a season at that point. And he's a running quarterback. It's a question if Danny's going to be viable for next season, regardless of if he's a part of the program or not. I wish the best for him. I want him to be able to play as much as possible. But I just don't know how Danny is going to be a part of the picture next year with any sort of confidence. Like they're going to have to build a roster with the anticipation that he is not a part of it in terms of playing. He can certainly be around in the film room, recovering, rehabbing. But you can't put any sort of money eggs in his basket because it's certain that he is not going to be 100% for a long time.
Yeah, and that's really kind of the struggle there. And what's also certain is that you got two players that are going to be leaving, and Hunter Simmons and Billy Edwards Jr. You got one coming in at this point with Ryan Hopkins. Now we'll see what happens with National Signing Day. There hasn't been any rumors of a flip, but again, as we just talked with Nick Osen, anything can happen when you get down to it. So, yeah, they're going to have to bring someone in and get some help there. They're going to have more turnover in that quarterback room. But what were your grades for this Badgers team this season? 877-794-1973. Kevin texts in, but the schedule they have this year, I don't think there were very many people that expected them to win more than 6 games. So winning 4 isn't that bad when you think about it. Yeah, expectations to win more than 6 were certainly low. We were struggling to see 6 kind of at the get-go. And yeah, to end up with 4, especially when for a while there we were expecting to just end up with 2. It's kind of around middle of the road. Not quite as bad as it could have been. Not as good as you were hoping for, obviously, but kind of around middle of the road-ish. So that's where I end up with a C. Yes, expectations do play a part in it. Yes, there's probably a little bit of recency bias to it because these wins came later on here. If the Badgers got their 2 conference wins against, Maryland, like if they happen like early on in the season and then they go on a complete skid to end the year, we're probably talking different grades. Like we're probably looking at it as an F then. But to get those ranked wins at the end of the season, I think it does boost the grade quite a bit. It's like, it's kind of like, hey, yeah, your final is worth 30% of your grade. And you ace the final, it's like, okay, well, that brings your grade up a little bit. It's not going to get you an A on the season, but, it helps boost it quite a bit.
Yeah, they did fine on their final, right? I would look at the last month of the year as a final exam, and they won 2 big games at home, ranked opponents, hadn't beaten a ranked opponent since October of 2021. So there's something there. But as we've highlighted, whether it's with Jim Polzine on the pregame show or Polzine on this show or through conversations with others, I mean, there's a lot of talent walking out the door this year. Guys like Darrell Peterson and Ben Barton, guys that lead this defense, are walking away. Ricardo Hallman, I mean, he's your best cornerback. I know he's had an up and down career. 2 years ago, he was electric, 7 interceptions. Last year, 0 picks. This year, somewhere in between. But, you're losing leadership. And also a ton of those guys you brought in for that interior defensive line, all graduating. So you're going to have to retool, but hopefully you now know the blueprint, what you're looking for, what you're attempting to strive for. Certainly on defense. I think offense is completely up in the air. You got to figure out based on personnel who the hell you're going to roll with.
Yeah, exactly. As Mike from Merrill texts in, how does Wisconsin get quality wide receivers to come here if we continually run a Fran Tarkenton offense? Now, that was really kind of the question that led to Luke Fickell trying to bring in the air raid. It's like, hey, look, we have, in order to be able to compete in today's college football, we need to have a stronger passing attack. We need to get better wide receivers. So that's what they tried to go with here to get the top wide receivers, to get them to come here and to build up that part of the offense and to move away from the Fran Tarkenton style, the ground and pound, run the ball type offense. They tried to go with the air raid and it didn't work. It didn't work. They couldn't get it going with Phil Longo in that group. Now, again, granted, quarterback injuries played a part in that. Tanner Mordecai breaking his hand. Tyler Van Dyke seemed to be off to a good start against Alabama in that game and then tore his ACL on the first series. I mean, that just threw that whole game and that whole season out of whack after that. So, I mean, it's tough. They tried to do it. They tried to get the great wide receivers to come here by putting in an air raid offense. It didn't work. They had to switch it up. They've gone back to the ground and pound at least a little bit more here, and they were able to find some success with it. So, maybe Carter Smith can develop that arm talent and be a much stronger throwing option and throwing the ball down the field and be a threat that way. Maybe he can, and maybe that'll help bring some more wide receivers here. But also, how do you get them to come here? In the era of NIL, money.
Yeah.
You throw money at them because the Badgers have said that they are going to be investing more money in this program. So they're going to be trying to make it work. And if they need to get those top wide receivers, they're going to have to throw the money at them.
And I do think that maybe the writing was on the wall that this might be a weird season when you bring in guys like Mark Hamper and Tanner Koziel, and then they don't survive spring ball and they
leave.
Koziel had a hell of a season, 65 catches, 651 yards, 5 touchdowns with Houston. And that's a really good player.
Yeah.
And he didn't fit what they were looking to do here. He wasn't physical enough in the trenches as a blocker. You bring in Lance Mason, who had a good year. I mean, he led the team in receptions, yards, touchdowns. I mean, he had a good year. But you have to look at it and say, okay, and Mark Hamper, same thing, wide receiver who came from Idaho and then ended up elsewhere as well. So, like, you got to make sure that the guys you're getting in the portal are the right guys as well. You can't miss. You can't miss to the degree that the guy doesn't even make the roster, ends up elsewhere before fall camp. So a lot to look at from this team's season this past year and hopefully learn from in the recruiting trail, in the transfer portal, not to mention Xavier Lucas, Nazir Fortune, both very unique and awkward situations. They need to make sure that there's some calmness and consistency to this program moving forward. And I think that's why you lean in and you keep Luke Fickell around because you're hoping to kind of calm what has been a rather tumultuous set of years in all of college sports, but specifically, of course, where we care most deeply here in Wisconsin with our football program.
Yeah, you need that calmness. You need that consistency. And what's always consistent is Bruiser's Bites. And they're with you every single day. They're here on this program every single day in the 1 o'clock hour. And they're coming up next. So we got Bruiser's Bites coming up on the other side. The always imitated, never duplicated Bruiser's Bites coming up on the other side. Stay with us. This is D.N.D. here on the game.
I'm smacking the hump. Word to your moms, I came to drop bombs. I got more rhymes than the Bible's got songs. And just like the prodigal son,
Stay tuned.
Yes.
D.N.D. will be back in just a moment.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1969.
In January of 69, Creedence Clearwater Revival has a number 2 hit with Proud Mary. The Beatles performed live for the last time on the rooftop of Apple Records in London. And after touring as the New Yardbirds in September of 68, Jimmy Page renames the band Led Zeppelin and releases their debut, which goes top 10 in both the US and UK.
oh, good times, bad times, you know I've had my share. When my woman left home for a blind man, but I still don't seem to care.
In February of 69, Detroit rockers MC5 released their debut album Kick Out the Jams on Elektra Records. Tommy James and the Shondells have a number 1 hit with the psychedelic-influenced Crimson and Clover. And San Francisco's Sly and the Family Stone go to number 1 with the single Everyday People.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1969. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1975.
In September, the Isley Brothers have a number 1 album, The Heat Is On, driven by the number 4 single, Fight the Power. Alive is a 2-record live album that goes to number 9 for Kiss. They released the single Rock and Roll All Night, which goes to number 12. David Bowie switches to Philly Soul on the LP Young Americans, featuring the number 1 single Fame, which was co-written by John Lennon. UK rock band Foghat have a top 20 hit with Slow Ride from the album Fool for the City. In October of 75, Pink Floyd released their follow-up to Dark Side of the Moon. Wish You Were Here goes to number 1 in the US and the UK.
What have we found? Same old fears. Wish you were here.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1975. Coming up.
Looking back at the world of sports
It's the iHeartRadio Weekend Sports Time Capsule.
What's happening, fellow sports fans? It's Andy West, and I'm here to take you on a journey back to this week in sports history. We'll start off in 1914. Babe Ruth makes his MLB debut, pitching a 4-3 Boston Red Sox win over the Cleveland Naps at Fenway Park. This week in 1934, Carl Hubble strikes out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin in succession. But the American League comes back to win the All-Star Game 9-7 at the Polo Grounds. Staying in baseball, this week in 1955, St. Louis's Stan Musial hit Frank Sullivan's first pitch of the 12th inning for a home run to give the National League All-Star team a 6-5 victory over the American League at Milwaukee's County Stadium. The American League had led 5-0 after 6 innings. This week in 1972, Robert Irsay buys the stock of the LA Rams for $19 million and swaps the franchise for the Baltimore Colts. The players and coaches are not affected. This week in 1999, Team USA wins the Women's World Cup over China in sudden death. The Americans win 5-4 in penalty kicks, with defender Brandy Chastain kicking the game winner. Play ball! And this week in 2010, Brian McCann's 3-run double in the 7th inning provided the National League all the offense it needed to capture its first Midsummer Classic since 1996 with a 3-1 victory.
And that's just some of what happened this week in sports history. The Weekend Sports Time Capsule on iHeartRadio.
We call it Wagertainment.
All right, place your bets. Place your bets.
VSiN, every night at 6. Presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet above the rest on Fox Sports 920.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Sir Elton John to reflect on how radio can ignite the imagination.
You know, I grew up in an era, and I'm so grateful, after the war, the Second World War, where radio and records were primary source of music. But for me, listening to a play or listening to the radio and hear someone talk and reading a story, you had to use your imagination, like you do when you read a book. You read a novel and you read a story and you imagine what's going on. And your imagination is the most valuable asset you will possibly have.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Elton John and all your favorite artists.
Welcome back to D.N.D. here on The Game. Dave Gasper along with Nick Brusewitz. Final hour of the show before we turn things over to Drew and KB coming up at 2 o'clock. But before we get there, we have some more business to attend to as well. And one of those things is the often imitated, never duplicated, award-winning Bruiser's Bites.
Time now for Bruiser's Bites.
Yes, it is time. It has arrived a little bit later today in anticipation of our conversation with Billy Edwards. We, as always, push back our Bruiser's Bites here to the second segment in our final hour. And it's brought to you by Wisconsin Concrete Coatings, just like always. WIConcretecoatings.com. You know what I wished my mom had done before the holidays?
What's
Gotten
that?
her floors done in the garage with the polyurea coating. It's slippery out there. It's slippery. I'm sorry, and it wouldn't be, because the polyurea coating of Wisconsin Concrete Coatings is slip resistant when wet, skid resistant. Your floors aren't going to erode. Your oil, whatever you have in your garage, it's not going to ruin your floor if it's coated with Wisconsin Concrete Coating. So visit them, WIConcretecoatings.com. A lot of Packers conversation to be had here, because I know a lot of folks, of course, they heard this after the game on Thursday, but the Packers take down the Lions 34-27, and national conversations being had about this group. We'll start with that. Danny Parkins of First Things First on Fox Sports had this to say about the version of the Packers that we saw this week on Thanksgiving.
Like Jordan Love, I have criticized him for not being a trustworthy player. I think he's inconsistent. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't feel the rush or the game situation. Streaky. Very streaky.
Yep, I got you.
But he's a big game hunter. Like that guy throws the ball down the field. And yesterday on deep balls, he was just awesome. If the Packers are going to connect on their deep balls and convert on fourth downs with touchdowns and game icing drives, and Micah's going to be a closer for you, Willie, that's the scariest version of this team.
Did we see the most scary version of the Green Bay Packers in their victory over the Lions?
I think we might have. I mean, when you see Mike Parsons having the success that he had, defensively closing it out, and you see Jordan Love being able to throw the ball that well, yeah, I think that's a scary version. That's very tough to face. I mean, we've talked about how the Detroit Lions, we think, are, one of the top teams in this division, right there along with the Packers. And Jordan Love and this offense were able to play a pretty good game against them. So, yeah, I think it's certainly a dangerous team when they're playing like that. When Jordan Love is on it and he's able to hit those deep balls and Micah Parsons is on it, yeah, it's certainly a very dangerous, very scary version of the Green Bay Packers that no one really wants to face. And that can get very dangerous when you get into January if Jordan Love can continue to play like that. Because as he mentioned, it can be streaky. We've seen flashes of it. If you can get that consistently, get that showing up in the postseason, then yeah, this is going to be a very dangerous, scary team for the rest of the league.
Well, Micah Parsons is well understood to be a very scary individual. If you're lining up against him,
if you're a quarterback, yeah.
Absolutely. And he's now posted 6 total sacks over the last 3 games. This is what Parsons had to say about potentially heating up as the season has gone on.
Like I said, I felt like going into the offseason, it was supposed to be my year to be the best player, and I'm just trying to live up to that. And obviously, not having camp took me a while to get into a rhythm. So being late in the year, it's just really just being championship football games, division games. I just had to step up my level of play and just be the person they brought me in to do.
With his performance against Detroit, he became the first player in NFL history to post 5 straight 12-plus sack seasons to open a career. I ask you, Dave, do you think he's set to kind of take off here now down the stretch?
Yeah, I think so. And, he mentioned not having camp, taking him a little bit longer to get going. That also could mean he could be a little bit fresher here as well as you get down the stretch. So that could make things a little bit more dangerous for him as well. With him being fresh and having, a little bit more momentum heading into it. So, yeah, I think he can continue to get better and get bigger numbers as the season goes on here down this final stretch. So, yeah, it's great what we've seen these past couple of weeks. He's really turned it around, because there were a couple there where we're looking at Mike Parsons. It's like, hey, man, where are the pressures? Where's the production? And he's really turned it on these past couple of weeks. And, yeah, first player in NFL history, 12 sacks each of his first 5 seasons. Just incredible. And he's going to keep punching that number even higher.
Well, the Packers outdid Dan Campbell at his own game, going 3 for 3 on 4th down, including a touchdown in the first half to Dontavian Wicks and a game-sealing catch by Dontavian Wicks in the 4th. Here is Jordan Love on the aggressive nature of their offensive attack in Week 13.
No, we've talked. Matt wanted to definitely stay aggressive in this game. And we had conversations all week, like I said, that, it's going to come down to the pass game. We got to go win it in the air. And, I think it's just the confidence he has in everybody on the offense to be able to go out there and make those plays. And it's one of those games you got to be aggressive. You got to stay aggressive to go win it, because we know, it's a really good offense on the other side of the ball. And you want to stay away from trying to give them the ball back.
A more aggressive offensive attack by the Green Bay Packers, something we pined for a series of weeks. Yeah. And they do it. They go out there and they win. Do you think it's kind of preview for what's ahead for the Green Bay Packers as they try and pull off the NFC North title here in 2025?
I sure hope so, because you're going to have to be aggressive in order to win that title. I mean, I loved the aggressiveness there from Matt LaFleur on 4th and 3 to be able to just go and try and secure the game. Now, again, it was very risky, because if you don't get that 4th down conversion, then the Lions get the ball at midfield, essentially, with needing just kind of a touchdown there. So, yeah, I love the aggressiveness. I thought it was fantastic. They needed it. And I want them to be more aggressive down the line here. The Bears are going to be incredibly aggressive in this game coming up on Sunday, and then again a few weeks after that, because the Bears see their chance. They're feeling themselves. They're feeling some momentum, and they see what this rivalry is. With what Ben Johnson has said, the bulletin board material, all of that. So we know that the Bears are going to be playing aggressive in this game. The Packers need to be aggressive as well. If they're going to hold off the Bears in this division and hold off the Lions in this division, they are going to have to be aggressive in order to get those wins. They're going to have to take those chances, take those shots, trust Jordan Love, trust your guys in order to get the job done. I mean, Dontavian Wicks was not a guy who was high on everyone's trust tree heading into this, but he raised himself up a little bit this week with how he performed. So, yeah, I love the aggressiveness. They need to keep it up. It worked for him here against Detroit, and it's something that I think will continue to work for them.
Matt LaFleur was asked on if the Packers made a statement in their 31-24 victory over the Lions. Here's what he had to say.
No, I mean, every game's its own game, and we just came in here with an aggressive mindset and think that that's one of the ways that you have to play against these guys, knowing that you're going to have to defend 4 downs. So, it's a really good football team. Like, they've won a lot of games. So I thought the only way that, you come into this place, which is not an easy place to play, is you got to be aggressive.
Okay, well, it doesn't necessarily lend towards future aggressive decision-making per se. But what in general did this victory tell you about this year's Green Bay Packers?
I think it tells you that this team is much more improved, not only talent-wise, but I think also mentally when it comes to these types of games, because last year, 1-5 in the division, they really kind of struggled closing out some of those games and being able to win. So this year, to start 3-0 in the division, to be able to get 2 wins against the Lions, sweep them for the first time since 2020, and kind of beat them back. I think it says a lot about their mentality, how they're approaching it. And, LaFleur is saying, this is not a statement. I mean, he's doing his little coach speak thing there. It's like, I don't need to make a statement. He doesn't want to try and do that bulletin board material stuff to give Dan Campbell anything else, anything more than he already needs or he already has. In terms of bulletin board material. So, it's, I read it as, a great win that this team has improved, talent-wise on the field, and they've improved mentally for these games.
Wisconsin comedian Charlie Berens, who's going on a national tour, I believe, in the near future, was on Good Morning Football, and he was asked about the Chicago Bears, who famously are the favorite team of our new Pope. This is what he had to say about that whole situation.
The thing about the Bears is I've found historically, if they're playing well, you just wait a week or 2, and then it changes. And I'm okay. So you need the Pope to be a Bears fan, and that's how this happened.
Yes.
And you can see the Pope wasn't really praying necessarily for the Bears, and then after the first 2 weeks, he really started. Fortunately, God is a Packers fan, so it's only going to take a certain amount of time. Like God will give the Bears some wins, but the Packers are going to come out on top.
Packers are going to come out on top. God is a Packers fan, so even if the Pope's a Bears fan, we in Wisconsin have the upper hand as always. In our lifetime, Dave, this has been a dominance by the Green Bay Packers over the Bears. It really hasn't been particularly close. We didn't live the lifetime that others have lived where the Bears dominated Green Bay. So from your perspective, are the Packers just destined to beat Chicago every year?
Well, I think there will come a time where that may turn. I don't know if that time is – I don't think that time is now. I don't think that – I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but that doesn't mean that the time won't turn, because there was probably a time back in, the 80s where Bears fans thought that it would never turn and they would own the Packers for the rest of eternity. And then Brett Favre came to town, and then Aaron Rodgers came to town after that. And then next thing you know, it's completely different. So, you never want to say never. You never want to say that, they're always going to be the one that owns them. But for the foreseeable future, you can say yes. But we'll still have to see Jordan Love kind of continue that ownership. I mean, they went 1-1 against the Bears last year, and it took the middle finger from one of the Packers defensive linemen in order to be able to make that stop and get that win. So it's certainly gotten close. So I don't know if they'll stay dominant. I don't think they'll stay dominant forever. I don't think the Bears are going to take it over quite yet, but it's certainly gotten a lot closer in recent years.
Quick nugget on the Minnesota Vikings. They fall yesterday 26-0. Somehow Max Brosmer was worse than J.J. McCarthy. He throws 4 picks. It's a tough matchup. It's in Seattle. They're incredible as a team. But J.J. Justin Jefferson, that is, had 2 catches for a career low 4 receiving yards, and he did not speak with the media in the postgame. How screwed are the Vikings, man? I mean, their most significant and clearly most talented player is as disgruntled as can be, and it doesn't feel like they really have a replacement in sight at quarterback.
Yeah, you're pretty much screwed without a quarterback in place. They put a lot of eggs into the J.J. McCarthy basket. When they let Sam Darnold walk, you look in free agency, it's like Aaron Rodgers was there. That's a possibility. But they're like, no, we are going to stick with J.J. McCarthy. We drafted him 10th overall. We are committed to seeing this through. We think he's the guy. And it's becoming pretty evident that at least right away, he's not the guy. He's not the savior that they thought he was going to be, at least out of the gate. That doesn't mean that he's never going to be, but it means that he's not right now. And yeah, they have a very unenviable quarterback situation at the moment. Could that change? Maybe. We'll see if anyone pops out there in free agency or if they go to draft another one at some point here next year. But yeah, this season, they're completely lost at the quarterback situation. This whole season is going to be a lost season for the Minnesota Vikings. And yeah, J.J. McCarthy's or Justin Jefferson is upset, as he should be. Just 2 catches for 4 yards is ridiculous for a player like that. So for him, yeah, he's going to be frustrated. And, that's going to remain the case probably until he gets some consistency and better play out of the quarterback position. So am I sad about it? No, not in the slightest. I'm quite glad. I'm quite happy about this. But, it's going to be a struggle because if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're not going to win anything. You're just not. You have to be able to get some decent, consistent quarterback play. The Vikings do not have it right now, and it's going to be a lost season for them because of it. And it's going to be a lost season every year until they do figure out that quarterback position again.
Rest easy, Vikings fans. J.J. McCarthy is reportedly symptom-free. He'll be the starter at quarterback in all likelihood on Sunday against the Commanders, who had a hell of an effort last night. I think they did exactly what they were hoping to do. They played a very competitive, good game in front of their home fans, but still lost, so their draft position remained high. So it's a win-win for Washington yesterday, and Marcus Mariota, who played well for 99% of that matchup with Denver. We'll end with this, maybe not on the most positive note, but we talk a lot about momentum with the Wisconsin Badgers football team. Luke Fickell was asked about that in his postgame presser following Saturday's 17-7 loss to Minnesota on the road. He was asked about the momentum and if it was impacted by this loss to end the year.
Yeah, it hurts right now. Yeah, there's some momentum that's not right now, but the truth of the matter is we know where we need to go. Whether we end of the season today, whichever way, like this isn't the expectations, and everybody understands and everybody knows that. We talked about that about a month and a half ago when they stood behind us and knew what it is that we could do, and that wasn't saying that this was an acceptable expectation for how our football team is supposed to play. But nonetheless, it's it is what it is right now, and it is what we have made it, and so we know more than anything that we have to grow, we have to move forward. We have to build on the positive things that we do have, and that's the only thing we can do. Whether we create our own momentum and energy, and that's where we've got to make sure that that isn't lost.
Well, they did create a good amount of momentum with back-to-back ranked victories at home over Washington and Illinois. Dave, can we still look back fondly on what November was for Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are some definite positives to take away from this month of November for the Badgers. I mean, you saw really kind of the further development of Cooper Catalano and Mason Posa as your linebackers going forward, because that's been another identity spot for Badger football these past several years, having strong linebacker play, and those two certainly look like the future at that position. So you got positives to take there. Finding out Carter Smith is a dude that can bring energy and can help you win ball games. I think that's another big positive takeaway, because the quarterback situation is one that has been a major question mark the past several years. Pretty much every year of the Luke Fickell era, it's been a question mark. And, you found perhaps an answer there. So, yeah, there's certainly some positives to take away. And maybe this is the beginning of turning the corner for this Badger program. I think we might look back fondly and say, okay, this was the moment where things started to turn. When it comes to that Washington game or when it comes to the Illinois game, it's like, okay, things are turning around a little bit here. So, yeah, there's some positive momentum, but they're going to have to carry it through into next season and get some more positives. If they can knock off a Notre Dame, fantastic. Then you really have your signature win there. But to find some more success next season in Big Ten play and get yourself back to a bowl game, because with the schedule they have next year, they certainly should be bowl eligible, especially if they're able to build off of the positives we found over the last month.
Bruisers Bites always brought to you by Wisconsin Concrete Coatings, wiconcretecoatings.com. Visit their website and check out all the great work that they've done and can do for you, wiconcretecoatings.com.
We love Wisconsin Concrete Coatings, and they can do a lot. And we only got a little bit more left for us to do. Just one segment left before we turn things over to Drew and KB. Coming up, we'll be back before we do. So stick with us. Our closing ceremonies are up next. This is D.N.D. here on The Game.
Want to watch D.N.D? They're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X right now.
There you go.
There we go.
Just search 97.3 The Game.
I'm Chris Rose with NFL Network Now and the Westwood One Radio Network. We start in the AFC West, where Justin Herbert suffered a break in his non-throwing hand in the first quarter against the Raiders, eventually returned to the game, leading LA to a 31-14 win over Las Vegas. After the game, head coach Jim Harbaugh told reporters Herbert will require surgery to repair the injury. He still could be a go a week from Monday against the Eagles. Staying in the AFC, James Cook racked up 177 yards from scrimmage, helping the Bills make easy work of the Steelers 26-7. In Carolina, Bryce Young threw for 206 and 3 scores. Panthers improved to 7-6 after they shocked the Rams 31-28. The Texans are owners of 4 straight wins after they took it to Indy, outlasting the Colts 20-16. The Seahawks improved to 9-3 on the season after they blanked the Vikings 26-0 in Seattle. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8 year old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1969.
In May of 69, Neil Young releases his first album with Crazy Horse, Everyone Knows This Is Nowhere, featuring the songs Cinnamon Girl and Down by the River. The Who released the double concept album Tommy, which goes top 10 in the US and the UK.
Even on my favorite table, he can't beat my best. His disciples needed him, and he just does the rest. Stop crazy, flipping fingers, never seen him fall. That gift of a blind kid sure plays a mean pinball.
David Bowie's single Space Oddity, released to coincide with the Apollo 11 moon landing, reaches number 5 in the UK. Also in July, Bob Dylan has a top 10 hit with Lay Lady Lay in his new, deeper-sounding vocal style, which he attributes to quitting smoking.
Whatever colors you have in your mind, I'll show them to you, and you'll see them shine. Lay, lady, lay, lay across my big brass bed.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears have a number 2 hit with Spinning Wheel, popularizing the so-called brass rock movement. That includes BST, Chicago, and Electric Flag.
Drop all your troubles by the riverside. Catch a painted pony on the spinning wheel ride.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1969. Coming up. Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1967.
Try to set the night on fire.
In January of 1967, Los Angeles band The Doors released their debut album, which eventually goes to number 2, and features the single Light My Fire, which goes to number 1 in July. The Rolling Stones released Ruby Tuesday, an ode to a groupie written by Keith Richards. The song takes them to number 1 in the U.S. in March. And San Francisco band The Jefferson Airplane released the surrealistic Pillow album, scoring 2 top 10 hits with White Rabbit and Somebody to Love.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love.
In March of 67, Buffalo Springfield re-releases their debut album to include the hit single For What It's Worth. In April of 67, Give Me Some Lovin' by the Spencer Davis Group goes to number 7 in the U.S., with vocals by 17-year-old Steve Winwood. And in May, Elvis Presley marries his 21-year-old girlfriend Priscilla in Las Vegas. In May, Mitch Ryder hits number 4 with Devil with a Blue Dress, Good Golly Miss Molly. And the Jimi Hendrix Experience released their debut in the UK. In July, they toured the U.S. as the opening act for the Monkees in support of the U.S. album release.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1967. Coming up.
Welcome back to D.N.D. here on The Game. Our closing ceremony is here. Dave Gasper along with Nick Bruzewitz. Doug Russell will be back tomorrow. He has not been canned. I appreciate the concern on the talk and text line from Jim and Oshkosh. But no, Doug is still with us. Doug will be back tomorrow. We'll be on the air at 11 o'clock as Carry the G Radio is on your airwaves from 9 to 11 with Aaron Nagler and Billy Schmidt. And, of course, Armin Sarian with them as well. But wrapping things up here on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. We were talking today, Nick, about just kind of grading the Badgers season now that it's all over for the football team. And we're looking for grades. Madtown Ryan chimes in. The Badgers scored a whopping 12 touchdowns in the 2025 season. We averaged 1 touchdown a game. Yeah, it's not great. The offense certainly not good, but this is also kind of where we talk too about grading on a curve a little bit. Just with, losing Billy Edwards Jr. in the first game of the year, going through 4 different starting quarterbacks, very difficult to get any sort of consistency on offense. But yeah, it definitely struggled over there.
Yeah, I'm just happy that this season or test as a whole is now complete. It's been turned in. It wasn't pretty. It's over with, and hopefully you can move on next year, learn from this year, and find ways to flip the script quickly. Just look at what Texas A&M did this year. They were a good team. Don't get me wrong, for a handful of years, but they played a bunch of bad teams and they won those games. Badgers got to take advantage next year when their schedule certainly lightens up a lot.
Yeah, they certainly do. And one final thing here. The Minnesota Vikings, talking about their quarterback issues, they have also waived wide receiver Adam Thielen as he is seeking a bigger role on a playoff contending team in his final year before retirement. Nick, should the Packers get the old Vikings legend? Kind of pull a reverse because the Vikings always take the Packers scraps?
I don't see how he could or would fit in, but I'm sure someone will have interest out there in the league to bring in a veteran like him. But Aaron Jones, I mean, shouldn't he be on a contender as well? Maybe they let him free. Then, yes, absolutely bring him in.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. If they have the ability to, but they're not going to let him go. But Adam Thielen wants out. Yeah, I don't think he would fit necessarily on the Packers either, but it would just be funny. Just to be like, you know what? Fine. I guess we'll take him. But that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you being with us. Drew and KB coming up next. We'll be back at it tomorrow. This has been D.N.D. here on The Game.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1969.